man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday afternoon edition. We got a night show again tonight. The weekend is almost here. A lot of stuff going on, a whole lot of stuff. We have a press conference with Caroline Leavitt due to come up in about 27 minutes. So I got a lot of stuff to talk to you about today. Also, we've got Monica Paige from the White House. She's in White House press room. She'll be here at 3 o'clock. So we plan on being here for at least, 2 hours. So we'll be able to talk to Monica, especially after we see what happens in this press room. But I'm going to show you a video in its entirety. I won't make a single comment till it's over. I want you guys to specifically listen to everything that happens in this interview. This interview was on Fox and Friends this morning with Dan Bongino. So I have the entirety of the interview, not a couple clips here and a couple clips there. The whole thing. And I want you guys to listen for yourself and see what questions come up in your mind. I had an interview this morning that I pre-recorded that'll be on Monday night show on Rumble because I don't dare put it here on YouTube. And that show on Monday night is before we even dug really deep into what Dan Bongino said today and what Kash Patel said yesterday. Sunday is the 2-week warning. The 2-week clock expires on Sunday. So Monday I'm going to play this and we'll talk about some things about that. But I don't want to give you any spoiler alerts. I want you to hear the entirety of what Dan Bongino says. And if you have to, I want you to take notes. And then I'm going to comment on it, probably after Caroline Leavitt speaks, because we're probably going to run right up to the time she comes on. So save your comments or write your comments down and let's dig into this, because I think what you're going to see, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I know there's a lot of people who are still on board and they're hoping for the best and they think, well, I don't want to talk about it. We'll wait till afterwards because I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. and then I'll tell you what I really think is happening. Because I think something indeed is happening. I don't think it's a nothing burger. I think something is happening because it's going to be kind of crazy when you hear what I think's happening, and I'm going to ask you to ask some other people what they think as well. But before we begin, could your health issues be caused by an invisible enemy? Fatigue, bloating, brain fog? What if parasites are the real culprit? I was digging into parasite cleanses. Robin has been doing one, and when I came across this video from a trusted doctor.
What are the main differences between ivermectin and fenbendazole? These are two anti-pathogens used to treat parasitic infections and other similar types of conditions. They are used quite often in the oncology world to treat cancer. They both have as anti-pathogenic abilities.
Interesting, right? Did you know that 60 million Americans apparently have parasites in their body? That's scary. They're everywhere. Literally everywhere. In our food, our water, and even in our pets. They secretly invade your body, wreaking havoc on your gut, energy levels, and even your brain. And the mainstream medical system doesn't want you to think about this because one great cleanse can change your life. The Wellness Company has a solution for this. It's ivermectin and mebendazole. Mebendazole. It's an FDA-approved parasite solution now combined in one cleanse. All together, just fill out a brief medical intake form to get your 3-month supply. Lots of parasite cleanses are all over social media, but not the good standard level, the gold standard level. MAHA is officially here, and the Wellness Company is making these hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head to twchealth.com/Barry and use code Barry to save $60 off, plus get free shipping. Don't wait, cleanse your body, and take control today. All right, so, ready? I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you with Dan Bongino. It's 12:38, so we got plenty of time to get this in. We have plenty of time for you to take a listen to this video, write down your questions, and we'll discuss them as soon as we possibly can. All right, so without further ado, let's get to this video.
All right, the FBI is now re-examining high-interest cases that went unsolved in the Biden era. That includes the 2021 D.C. pipe bombings, the 2022 leak of the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, and the cocaine that was found in the White House in 2023.
Here to discuss this and more is FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Dan, great to see you on the couch again.
Yeah, welcome back.
Absolutely.
Good to see you in person. So many good memories. Great to see all of you.
First off, before we get into specifics, what did you think the job was going to be like? What is it like?
You know, the biggest lifestyle change for me has been family-wise. I mean, we already went through this with my time in the Secret Service. But, you know, when the president called and asked if I would take the job, you know, you can't tell your audience for years, go out and do stuff, talk is cheap. And then when the opportunity comes to do stuff, I didn't mean me, you know, I meant you. It's kind of you're a fraud. I mean, you don't sound like a fraud, you are one. So it was a lot. It's been tough on the family. People ask me all the time, you know, do you like it? I say, no, I don't. But the president asked me to do this to like it. You know, nobody likes going into an organization like that and having to change things and make big, bold changes. But, you know, I was at one of our facilities yesterday down in Winchester, and a woman who worked there, very nice, said, you know, I used to watch your show. I miss you. I said, you know, I miss me too. You know, part of you dies a little bit when you see all this stuff from behind the scenes.
Yeah. You're doing this for country, so we appreciate that and we thank you. And we're excited to find out, to roll back the curtain and find out what's deep in the FBI. We have so many questions about those 3 cases we just mentioned. Y'all are doing a deep dive into this. What's the latest on those investigations?
So the moment Cash and I swore in, we realized that the first thing we had to do is rebuild public trust. This is your FBI. It's not mine. I tell the employees every day, you don't own it, you don't own it, I don't own it. It's like being the center fielder for the Yankees. That'll live with you forever, but you don't own the Yankees. It's a proud franchise. The place has taken a reputational hit. There is zero question about it. There were a lot of bad actors. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. So we had to fix it and rebuild public trust. One of the ways to do it is these cases of significant public interest that matter. You know, we had 2 pipe bombs planted on January 6th. I mean, we were told by partisan actors out there this was the insurrection, the world was going to fall apart, and no one seemed to show any interest in this case. The second we got in, I put a team on it, and I said, I want answers on this. And I'm pretty confident that we're closing in on some suspects. We got to. The reason, by the way, I use social media with these cases, I'm trying to communicate on social media, is nothing's by accident, guys. I do nothing by accident. Every time I put a tweet out on it, we get tips. We got a fascinating tip on one of these cases, one of the 3. I don't want to say which one, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to close out one of them, hopefully shortly. And then the cocaine in the White House, you know, I saw someone on social media, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. We work for you, but said, I don't care about the case. Yeah, I do. I was a Secret Service agent. A potentially hazardous material made its way into the White House. Nobody seems to know how it got there, and nobody seemed to investigate it fully. Like, you know, what planet do we live on where that's not of public interest?
So you're faced with this interesting thing. I've known you since I was a kid, and I know your instinct is to swing back, but you promised that you weren't going to do that. You promised that you were going to get rid of the partisanship, and you were going to go back to being a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
You went in there, and there were some cases that were closed or still open that a lot of the public felt a little sketchy about. The first assassination attempt against President Donald Trump. It's like, is he really the guy? What happened with Epstein? Can you say with confidence, as a lot of people, you used to be their guy when it comes to podcasts, appearing on Fox News, but now as a law enforcement officer, can you say we have all the information?
Well, I'm never going to say we have all of it. And people ask me all the time, are these cases closed? And whether they're closed administratively is irrelevant. If new tips come in, we're absolutely going to follow them. And that's why I always put out, if you have additional information, please let us know. Those 2 cases obviously are of significant public interest. I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay, it was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him.
Right.
There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So there's 3 cases that you're looking at, the 2 D.C. pipe bombings, the Supreme Court leak on the Dobbs decision, and the cocaine in the White House. You say one of them, within a day or 2, we're going to have a major break?
Well, we got a good tip this morning. We're going to run it out. We're not going to be able to make that public, obviously, right away, because we have to make sure, and, you know, we have to go all the proper steps. What I don't want to do ever, and I've said this before, you know, it's not an excuse. I can't say to the public enough. I put it in my tweets all the time. I'm not asking you to trust me. Nothing drives me crazy when people go, they're asking us to trust a plan. I am absolutely not. Read my tweets. I don't want you to trust me. I don't. I'd be nice.
You'll have evidence.
All I care about is results.
So let's talk about what the president wants. He clearly wants a result. When he told Brett Baer on the assassination attempt, he's got questions on the first one. Watch.
There's a lot of frustration that we still don't know about that shooter in Butler. And we don't know about his communications. Will we get transparency?
I thought it was strange. You know, the one guy had 18 cell phones. Okay. I have a lot of cell phones, but I have like 2. You know, I call that a lot. And I think I probably make more calls than him. They live outside of Butler in a little place. Where did they get this lawyer that would represent IBM and would represent ExxonMobil?
You're the president. Can't you find out?
No, Secret Service. They tell me it's fine. But it's a little hard to believe, to be honest with you, okay? It's a little bit hard to believe as I get that throbbing feeling.
So, Dan, the question is that a lot of people have wondered is, did this kid have help? He could not have pulled it off by himself. Was there a foreign actor? Did someone provide him with the weapons? Was there chatter online?
Well, let's be clear here. There are 2 separate parallel tracks here. foreign actors targeting people in the United States. And it's not just the president, it's others. That is a very real track. The question is, do they intersect? The case file now, which, by the way, we are going to make another public release on this coming up. We're just kind of finishing up the product now to make sure it's tight and put together. You're going to see a lot of what you've heard about online does not exist in the case file. I'm not telling you information may not surface later. We do the PDB, the President's Daily Brief. We get the same brief, me and Cash, every morning. We have warned people out, telling them if there's something there we want to find. They have shaken every tree on this.
You mean you talked to his classmates, you talked to his family, you've talked to everyone, because they evidently they burned the body, cremated, and they cleaned the whole house out.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There are, like with the Epstein case, for example, we have a number of significantly odd abnormalities that would make a normal person go, huh? What? Mm-hmm. If Lawrence is near his bank at 4 o'clock and the bank gets robbed, but we know Lawrence reported to work afterwards and has an alibi, the fact that the bank was robbed, it's a fact that Lawrence was there, but it's not evidence that Lawrence committed the crime. Mm-hmm. Things, really, really bad things happened in this case. But when you see the report we're going to release, you'll see that not everything you've been told is true. But the president is not wrong at all. I mean, he's entirely, he was shot in the head. Yeah. He was shot in the head, got up and screaming, fight, fight. Of course he's going to want answers, but that's our responsibility. And nothing's ever closed, though. If new evidence surfaces, we'll be sure to get it out.
There were just things that were strange. The slope roof thing, you know, the guy was on his bicycle roaming around, never caught, never seen. Let's talk about something that's been in the news this morning, and that is Kash Patel talking about how when James Comey was on the beach and he posted that social media, 8647, he claims that he just happened to walk up along the beach and they saw the shells, he and his wife, and he put it on social media, says he thought it was innocent. He was the director of the FBI, but thought it was innocent. He knows what 86 means. Then Kash Patel said, now we have all these copycats, and now y'all are having to pull resources from all these serious crimes, terrorists, gang-related individuals, drug traffickers, and people who are abusing children. You're pulling them off to go research these copycats because we can't afford another assassination attempt.
I got to tell you, of all the things that have surprised me in the close to now 3 months I've been here is the depravity of Jim Comey. This man is a disgrace to the badge, the FBI, and the country. What he's doing right now, one, going out and me taking shots at Cash. Cash doesn't belong. Cash was the chief of staff at the Department of. Cash is a patriot. Cash has served in numerous high-level roles, taking personal shots while you're on the beach, implying a threat towards the president and blaming your wife about it. And let me just add about James Comey, you know, Saint Comey, who walks around there moralizing to everyone how wonderful of a human being he is. What you said is absolutely accurate. We have wasted countless man hours now running out tips to our tip line about people putting 8647 because of Jim Comey, because he cannot control himself and his emotions. He is a child. He is a big child. And let me tell you one more thing. Jim Comey, who wants you to believe, Jim Comey taking a shot at the president. Oh, look at me, I'm such a victim. The president's going after me. He's making a ton of money on this book. The only person that got prosecuted was the president. Jim Comey, we're finding stuff even now. Wait till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records. We found it in bags hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. Quickly, you're going to be stunned.
The shells on the beach. Can you not talk to social media and say, y'all take this down? If you see anyone posting this, take it down. It's a threat to the president's life. Second thing, can you arrest people that post these like Comey?
we make arrest decisions based on an interaction with the Department of Justice. We're the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, not prosecution. The problem is a lot of these cases haven't been a Secret Service agent, is you're going to prove intent. And here's what you don't want. You say you arrest him, and he goes, there's not a magistrate that's going to, and the guy walks out of court doing a victory
You got to build
lap.
the right case.
You have to build a case. You need to build probable cause. I don't want to do what the left did, which is jump the gun. I mean, then you have a situation like the prior deputy director, prior to abate, Andrew McCabe, who goes back, files a lawsuit. This guy was engaged in one of the biggest scandals in American history. He got $200,000, I believe, and his pension. You have to do this the right way.
What about social media?
And he also got a network contract, so he's an expert commenting on you.
Yeah, they're
what
all
is that
victims.
like?
Well, listen, as Lawrence said before, it's difficult for me to not be able to respond like I used to, but there'll be a day. There'll be a day. I'll be back one day, and I'm going to be sure to answer all that stuff. But that's not my job now. My job now is to put aside my partisan interests and to responsibly handle the deputy director of the FBI position. You got to remember, Brian, nothing that gets to our desk, me or Cash, is a 5 or a 6 problem. Everything's a 10. If it's a 9, someone else fixed it.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the laptop that the FBI held on to to make sure it wasn't a factor in the election.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to address. We can't publicly talk about HR matters. We just can't. It's
illegal.
Yeah, it's you can't do it. But anyone out there who thinks we have not taken appropriate action against political actors, they're just making that up. We can't go out and advertise this stuff, but if you think we're allowing partisanship to infiltrate the FBI and just let all that bad stuff happen, you're really just making, I don't know why you're doing it. Maybe you're trying to break up, divorce us from the people and breed mistrust, but that is not what's happening. I don't know what people think me and Cash are doing all day. I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Cash is there all day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. He uses the gym. I work out in my apartment. But I stare at these 4 walls all day in D.C., by myself, divorced from my wife. Not divorced, but I mean separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, we love each other, and it's hard to be apart.
But you're doing some great work. You're straightening out at the FBI. You're moving buildings. There's a lot of change.
I got one more thing. I'm not asking anyone to trust me. Trust is for fools. Just wait for the results. That's all I'm asking. Don't trust me. Trust is for fools. Too many actors in government have asked you to trust them and screwed you in the past. Yeah. We're not doing that.
Yeah, speed. You don't need speed in this. You need to do it right.
Smooth is fast.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Great to see you.
Appreciate you.
Great to see you.
I didn't hurt you, did I?
No, he's still
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Ducey.
Okay. Don't trust me. It was said 2 or 3 different times. So, if you do what Dan says, which may be a code, that's one of the things that I talked to a gentleman today, and I'm gonna show you an interview on Monday it's gonna really open your eyes. I can't go into it now because other people are listening. But what he just said there, he said it 2 or 3 times. Don't trust me. I've told you many times on my shows, don't trust me, go look it up. So I'm going to challenge you, because I put up a poll and people are like, I still believe in him, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, because what I would say would be, why do you still believe Dan Bongino? Don't talk to me about the podcast. Don't talk to me about anything that he's done or said in the past. That doesn't matter right now. Why do you trust him right now? Why do you, quote, believe in him right now? Why do you believe in Kash Patel right now? There's something inside of you can put in the chat. What is it that makes you still believe or have faith in what Dan Bongino just said and what Kash Patel said yesterday and 2 weeks ago? What is it that continues that faith? Is it just blind faith? Or will you take what he said 2 or 3 times that he emphasized and say, don't believe what I'm telling you? I personally believe my thoughts are that's the message. Don't believe him. There are so many communications happening right now. So here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. And it should open your eyes a lot. I challenge you to find someone in your family, a close friend, not just somebody out of the blue. Someone who's close to you, that you trust, and say to them, is what you're seeing from Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, is this normal? Does it take this long to do, pretty much a simple task? When I say simple, it's been not just a couple of months. There's been stuff a couple of years, and obviously there's snakes in the grass and everything else, but just ask them, does any of this take time? This much time? Trust me, if you went up to a bank and threw a brick in the window, it doesn't take 4 or 5 months before somebody knocks on the door and puts you in silver handcuffs. Then ask that same person that you trust, say, listen, when you arrest somebody and you have evidence, do you send it out to the public, or is it because it's evidence you can't disclose it? Because Dan just said, yeah, you're going to see this, you're going to see that. Well, how are we going to see this and see that if people are going to be arrested? Wow, you don't let everybody see the evidence. Because it's part of a filing. It's part of an arrest. It's part of, discovery. You don't just say, hey, look at all this stuff we found as we go to arrest Joe. Hey, we found all this stuff in Comey's closet or whatever, and all this. Wait till you see all this. No, why do I need to wait to see it? When you start really thinking and taking off the fanboy stuff, because I tell you right now, full disclosure, I love Dan Bongino. I have loved this show. I loved Kash Patel, everything he said. So the fanboy, I'm pulling away. I'm stripping away the fanboy stuff. We got 2 minutes here, so I'm going to come back with it. So first thing I want you to do is talk to someone in the military or law enforcement and say, is this normal? Because personally, I don't think anything we're seeing right now is normal. I don't think the entire facade that's going on is normal. I think these guys are doing a huge selling job. Almost a selling job to stop you from looking. Hey, everything's fine. We got this. Oh, you'll see it pretty soon. And obviously, there's a lot of people who agree with that and say, oh, yeah, give them time. Oh, they're working on something. Really? Ask a law enforcement. Ask an attorney. Ask anybody in the law enforcement box that you know and say, should it take this long on a case? And I'm not even talking about Epstein. I'm talking about all of them. Epstein's the most ridiculous one. Forget that. You got to believe it right now. There's something going on. The guy's been dead for years. His compadre assistant, she's in jail. You got all the videos. You got everything. You got all. Why hasn't anything happened? Well, let me give you a hint to what I'm going to talk about after Caroline Levitt comes on. I want you to see something that just happened. On top of everything else that's been happening, this happened just about 12:40, so about 15 minutes ago. Judge is now preparing order for the DHS and State Department to not make any changes to Harvard's student visa program indefinitely. We have another judge who has now decided that in his presidency, he doesn't want there to be any changes in Harvard, and so that's it. No, indefinitely. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. You see, the moves are happening. Things are already in play. It's not about trusting Dan Bongino. It's not about trusting Kash Patel or Pam Bondi. You need to trust in yourself and get ready. Things are happening. It's accelerating. People are exposing themselves for who they are. And I don't feel like what you're hearing on these news shows is what's really happening. Dan Bongino, what did he say? Don't trust me. What was he talking about? You think he was specifically talking about Epstein and Comey or anything else? Or, hey, I'm out here doing this because they told me to come out here, but don't trust the damn word I'm saying. Because something much bigger is coming. And what's weird is I don't think I'm making it up because it has to come. When I show the interview that I did today, it just says, there is no tomorrow for America. I am not being hyperbolic. I am not being overdramatic. There is no tomorrow. They have activated their side. They have decided they got to push all their chips in right now. And all these judges that are saying all these crazy things, and what they're doing is every single judge that you see happen is making Pam Bondi's and Kash Patel's and Dan Bongino's workload even bigger. Got another one just happened. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, I guess we got to start investigating him too now, huh? Yep. It's mushrooming, almost like somebody set off an atom bomb in America. And that atom bomb is the libnuts and the deep state and the globalists who have decided at this point they are going to use the judiciary and take down America. So how do you think that gets fixed? Again, talk to someone in the military, talk to someone in law enforcement, and ask them, how does it get fixed when we are obviously under attack? First of all, if you don't think we're under attack, you haven't done enough research. You don't understand the Constitution. You don't understand it's supposed to be 3 co-equal branches of government. It's not one branch who tells the president what to do. But yet they keep doing it. And the media is like, oh, they showed Trump what he can do and what he can't do. You see, the answer to this, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm getting ready and prepped with Robin, and I spoke to Ashley this morning, and I'm saying we need to get prepped with her, is it's coming. There's no choice but for it to come. Ignore the noise, focus on the signal. This is way beyond the FBI. I like the fact that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are out there, doing a tap dance, because it's not up to them. You see, when President Trump pulls the pin and goes all in on his side, it's not those guys that he's going to be basically having move. It's the military. It's the military. Just like you got pissed off at Colonel McGregor yesterday, but I'm saying ask some people in the military, ask some law enforcement people, ask some people that you know. Hey, can this continue? And they will tell you, nope. Is it all about arrest? Yes, but not the ones you're thinking about. Maybe start looking up information on military tribunals and see if the FBI is involved with military tribunals. Find out what the Department of Justice does in military tribunals. You might get surprised. You might get very, very, very surprised. And why am I keep talking about habeas? And one day I might turn on and they say, Barry, don't come back on here anymore. Is because there is no other option. Stop worrying about arrest. Stop worrying about Epstein. Stop worrying about what Dan and Kash and Dan are doing. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what President Trump decides and when he decides it. I don't believe it's an if anymore. You're seeing it on a daily basis. I looked at the comments under that thing about that judge. Oh my God, this can't continue. Oh, we can't keep going. Exactly. All of the emotions and comments that you make to each other is we can't keep doing this. This can't continue. What? Well, what's going to stop it? What's going to stop it from continuing? They're not going to stop it. They're going to keep ruling against him. And many of you say, ignore the orders, ignore the orders. Well, if that's how you feel, you know that there's only one option. There's only one nuclear option to stop what's going on in this country. And so like Dan said, don't trust me. Okay, I won't. And it's funny when I put up the poll and people are like, oh, no, he just told you a couple times, don't trust me. Whatever he was told, whatever they're doing, is not something that's of priority. And when you sit back and realize at this point that there is no other way to stop what the Democrats are doing, to stop what the globalists and deep state, there's only one way to stop it. And that's to basically have the military take over. That's it. That's the only way. Forget going to court. We don't have that time. We don't have years of trials and all that. Don't have it. I'm going to read to you something after Pam gets done. And I'm trying to provide some clarity for you guys to really think about, wait a minute. Yeah, we are at the 12th hour of America. Barry, you're crazy. No, you're scaring me. I'm just telling you. You can see it. Go do your research. Just like Dan said. I believe Dan? Okay. Dan said, don't believe me. Go look. See what's happening. Too many people in America at this point are not ready to accept the fact that you're already in the game. It's begun. The takeover began with the auto pen stuff. You think we have time to go through hearings and arrests for the auto pen? Just, you're adults. Sit right now to yourself and go, okay, if President Trump started going after the people who were in the White House and, you know, the family and Paige Jean-Pierre and this person and that person, and then they lawyer up and then you arrest them, how long is a trial going to take? A trial may take 2 or 3 years. These guys are very, very good attorneys. They know what they're up against. Think to yourself. Look it up. How long will a trial take? Well, how long did President Trump's trials take? Months and months and months. And that was just stupid stuff. Why is President Trump saying the word treason over and over? These are the things that you now need to start stepping back away from arrest and start thinking to yourself, takeover. What will happen? What has to happen? We don't know when. We don't know how it's going to happen. I'm going to play something after this, and you're going to see Tom Homan. And Tom Homan just kind of looks defeated. But not defeated in the realm of, like, I can't do this anymore. Almost defeated in, I'm tired of waiting. We need to get going. Do you know that Tom Homan hasn't gotten the money he needs to round these people up? Do you know something about the big, beautiful bill and how everyone's screaming about is raising the debt? What happens when you have too much debt personally? Serious question. When you have too much debt where all the cuts you could possibly make still don't add up, what happens? Well, you file bankruptcy. And everybody has said, oh my God, America can't default on its debt. And America, our credit globally will be, so badly affected. What if part of what Trump needs to do is to make sure that you do indeed bankrupt America? Because one of the questions that, again, want you to go look up. You keep hearing about debt. Oh, $3.6 trillion, right? Yeah. You've taken out loans probably in your life, whether it be a car loan, whether it be a personal loan, a mortgage. There's some evidence of you owing somebody money. Why is it in the history of politics we have never seen who owes this supposed debt? Why don't you know who owes or who do we supposedly owe? And what would happen, just like with everything else, if we just said, you know what? We're going to renegotiate this debt, and if you don't like it, you're done. We don't need you. See, the only reason why we have debt is because we keep borrowing to what? Pay the debt. So what if all of a sudden President Trump said, you know what? I'm going to go Andrew Jackson, and I'm going to suspend habeas. And you know what else? You guys who think we owe you money, we can't pay it. Sorry. We're done. Done. We're starting over. Complete reset. Who do you think's going to get hurt? The globalists. Those are the ones who are holding the notes for America that we've never seen. Because every time they have to raise the debt ceiling, what the hell does that mean? Who are you going to borrow this money from? And we keep hearing it's China. So why would China, like Douglas McGregor said yesterday, why do people keep thinking China's a boogeyman? If China gave us gazillion dollars, which who knows where they're getting it from, why would we be a threat? Because of course you don't break the knees of people you need to get paid from. The whole idea of the mob and everybody else and how they've been loan sharks, they never, until it gets too far, they don't kill the people who owe them money. They may break an arm, break a leg or something, but hey, you need to pay me next week. They don't just arbitrarily just bomb you because they'll never see the money. So obviously China cannot be the threat everybody in the media tries to make it. Do your research. Find out. If you can, who do we owe money to? How come we owe this money? When did we start borrowing money from these people? Where did the debtors get the money to give us? When you start asking those questions, I'm going to show you something after the press conference that's going to enlighten you a little bit. And so I don't care about Epstein. I don't care about the January 6th pipe bomber. I don't give a crap. It doesn't change my life whatsoever. It doesn't change your life whatsoever. It's a carrot dangling in front of your face so you don't ask the real questions. What affects your life right now? Oh yeah, $3.6 trillion in debt. Start looking that up. Who do we owe money to? Why do we owe money? What's the interest rate? Who gave it to us? Why did we borrow it? If you can't answer those questions, then you don't know. You need to go ahead and research it. What would happen if Trump goes full Andrew Jackson and decides to, pull the plug, go habeas, and do what he needs to do? What if the big beautiful bill was supposed to do exactly what people are terrified of? What if the big beautiful bill was put in place to help you have lower taxes on this, lower taxes on that, fund these different things? What if that big beautiful bill was indeed put together to attack the globalists because we're not going to pay it? I haven't even looked at the chat because maybe some people checked out and went, this guy's an idiot. Nope. Go look it up. Once you begin looking at these things and trying to dig and spend the time, you'll say, I don't need to watch television because I'm going to dig in on my own and see what exactly is Barry talking about, because I've looked. And so at this point, people waiting for the midterms and waiting for Cash and those guys to do something, you might be looking at the wrong thing. You might be looking at a movie that's playing in front of you. The whole thing is being scripted to keep you from looking at what's really going to happen. Now before she gets on stage, I'm going to clarify exactly why I don't have any doubt. I know President Trump is going to pull the pin. What is going to happen to President Trump, his business, and his family, and his circle of friends, and me, and everybody else, should these people win another election? Well, they're going to put Trump in jail for the rest of his life. They're going to take his property. They're going to take everything they can. They're going to break him. They're going to break his family. Who knows how far and deep they will go to make sure nobody ever raises their head out of the sand again and try to take on a deep state. If you can't agree to that, then that's another foundation that you haven't reached yet. Just think to yourself, if they were to win in the midterms, and supposedly it's close, don't know how, even Scott Presser said, hey, we're probably going to lose the midterms. So if they lose the midterms and they take the House, Hakeem Jeffries then becomes Speaker. What do you think is going to happen? Start looking at things in that kind of perspective, and you'll never look at the Epstein case again. You're like, oh, hell no. I need to make sure I got a freezer. I need to stock that freezer with food. I need to make sure I got a generator. I got to make sure I got the pew-pew with enough ammo to go in the pew-pew. I need to get ready. Because I'm pretty sure President Trump's ready. And there is no other option. When you start thinking about what I'm just saying to you, you have to understand arrests are sideshows. And then if you do get an arrest, who's the judge? What do you think this judge is going to do? So the only option President Trump has at this point, the only option the country has right now is to pull the Band-Aid, pull the pin, and just do it. You know, President Trump has said often, because I believe in communications. I believe in listening to signal versus noise. When President Trump says it's going to be a little bit painful in the short term, perhaps he wasn't talking about money and tariffs and everything else. What if that pain was, yeah, when I pull the plug, people are going to go ballistic. It's going to be utter chaos, but it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Think about what would happen wherever you live. What could possibly happen? It's not going to be mass martial law. It's not going to close down the airports and everything else. It's going to just go after people who need to be gone after and take care of business, get them down to Gitmo or El Salvador or wherever. I'll continue. She's up. She's up right now.
Tonight, the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach. Using his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. The United States has run a trade deficit of goods every year since 1975. In 2024, our trade deficit in goods exceeded $1 trillion. Everybody agrees this is unacceptable. President Trump is delivering on his promise to fix this problem, and he has taken a long overdue and much needed bold stance for American workers after decades of our manufacturing base being hollowed out. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries. 3 judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him. These judges failed to acknowledge that the President of the United States has core foreign affairs powers and authority given to him by Congress to protect the United States economy and national security. Congress had created the National Emergency Act to provide the congressional framework to strike down improper IEEPA use, and any questions over whether President Trump improperly imposed these IEEPA tariffs were already adjudicated in Congress following Liberation Day. Congress firmly rejected an effort led by Senator Rand Paul and Democrats to terminate the president's reciprocal tariffs. The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges. President Trump is in the process of rebalancing America's trading agreements with the entire world, bringing tens of billions of dollars in tariff revenues to our country, and finally ending the United States of America from being ripped off. These judges are threatening to undermine the credibility of the United States on the world stage. The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country. With Congress returning next week, it's critical that Senate Republicans maintain the momentum and quickly pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill will truly make America safe and prosperous. The One Big Beautiful Bill includes the largest border security investment ever. That's why the law enforcement groups are lining up to encourage its swift passage. The National Fraternal Order of Police, the largest police union in the country, just endorsed key provisions of the bill. The FOP president announced their strong support, saying the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is more than legislation. It is a promise kept to the public safety officers across the country and a bold step toward an economy that respects, rewards, and uplifts the people who keep it safe. And the National Border Patrol Council, which represents nearly 20,000 Border Patrol agents, hailed the legislation as well. The group's president said this legislation provides a once-in-a-generation investment in the border security of our great country and will make America safer. The One Big Beautiful Bill will guarantee we can permanently have the safest, strongest, and most secure immigration system in American history. I also want to take the opportunity to debunk some false claims that have been circulating in the press about this bill. The blatantly wrong claim that the One Big Beautiful Bill increases the deficit is based on the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers who use shoddy assumptions and have historically been terrible at forecasting across Democrat and Republican administrations alike. For example, just before Congress enacted the original Trump tax cuts at the end of 2017, the same CBO projected that growth would average a mere 1.9% over the next 10 years. However, by 2019, actual growth had surged to 3.4% once the Trump tax cuts went into effect, exceeding the CBO forecast by nearly 2 full percentage points. The CBO's latest forecast makes the same anemic growth assumptions as they did in 2017, missing the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The CBO assumes long-term GDP growth of an anemic 1.8%, and that is absurd. The American economy is going to boom like never before after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed. The largest middle-class tax cut in history, massive deregulation, and the most aggressive domestic energy exploration ever will fuel small businesses, further boost private investment, increase workers' wages, and supercharge economic growth. The Council of Economic Advisors has factored in the effects of all these pro-growth policies and estimated in their own analysis that growth will average 3% in the long run after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed, which is nearly double the ridiculous CBO projection. This higher growth would result in $4.1 trillion in additional revenue over the next 10 years. Between the common sense spending reforms contained in the One Big Beautiful Bill and the robust economic growth that will be generated as a result of it, there will be no increase to the deficit. The same analysis from the CEA shows just how this historic package will unleash prosperity and ignite a blue-collar boom across America. But if the radical Democrats get their way and the One Big Beautiful Bill does not pass, Americans will face a whopping $4 trillion tax hike. This is unacceptable to President Trump. President Trump will not allow Democrats to massively raise Americans' taxes. Senate Republicans must get this bill passed. Failure is not an option. The American people are counting on Republicans to deliver. In other news, despite all the doom casting from the media, Americans are growing more and more optimistic about the economy under this president. Consumer confidence surged in May with the biggest monthly jump in 4 years, smashing expectations. According to the release from the Consumer Confidence Index, the increase in confidence was broad-based across all age groups, income groups, and political affiliations. Our country is clearly heading in the right direction under President Trump's bold leadership. For the first time in history of Rasmussen polling, a majority of Americans believe the country is on the right track. It's unsurprising because the president is fulfilling the promises he made to the American people. Here in our new media seat today, we have the editor-in-chief of The Federalist, Molly Hemingway. The Federalist is led by Molly and Sean Davis and provides fearless journalism and coverage of politics and culture to millions of readers all over the world. Thank you for being here, Molly, and why don't you please kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In the first Trump administration, there was an effort to stymie the agenda of Trump through the Russia collusion hoax perpetuated by many people in the media, including some people seated here, or the media outlets they represent, and other Democrats as well. The second Trump administration, to reference what you said at the beginning, seems to be subject to an effort to stymie the agenda using rogue lower court judges. You mentioned that the Supreme Court could and should do something to rein in these lower court judges. Also, Congress could do something about it, but they don't seem terribly interested in it. It also seems there's not much of an actual coordinated effort from this White House to take and tackle this effort from judges, Democrats and other people using these judges to stymie the agenda. Is there an actual effort by this White House to tackle this issue in a comprehensive way, and if so, what is it?
There is an effort by this administration to tackle these rogue judges and the injunctions and the blockades that we have faced in our broken judicial system in every case. I mean, we have seen time and time again these lower district court judges ruling against this administration in the president's basic executive authority and powers. And this administration is fighting every single one of those battles in court, including already the block that came down from the tariff court, the IEPA court last night. And as on my way out here to the briefing room, I understand that there was another district court judge right here in Washington, D.C., who ruled against the president's tariff power. And I will get to the heart of your question, and I'm glad that we are addressing this in the room today, because nationwide injunctions ordered against the first Trump administration, Trump 1.0, account for more than half of the injunctions issued in this country since 1963. And President Trump had more injunctions in one full month of office in February than Joe Biden had in 3 years. And let me roll through some of these radical injunctions to paint the picture for the American people at home. These are not just talking points. These are real judges in the court of law who are trying to block the president's power and the policies that he was elected to enact. For example, a court ordered the Trump administration to return already deported terrorist aliens back to the United States. A court has ruled the Trump administration can't even temporarily pause our refugee programs. Courts prohibited the Trump administration from eliminating federal funding for child transgender surgery and mutilation, a practice that the American people overwhelmingly reject. A court also held that the Trump administration could not ban people experiencing gender dysphoria or mental health issues from serving in the military. Ridiculous. Courts prohibited the removal of transgender women from women's prisons despite potential physical harm to real women in those prisons, biological women. A Northern District of California judge issued an absurd ruling that the president cannot fire people within the executive branch without Congress passing a bill, even though Congress has expressly authorized the president through the Office of Personnel Management to authorize reductions in force across agencies. A court also ordered the Trump administration to rehire thousands of already fired employees in several cases. A federal judge blocked the Trump administration from defunding the Department of Education, another signature campaign promise that this president has the power to implement. Courts ordered the Trump administration could not eliminate funding for illegal DEI programs, hence the word illegal. These are illegal programs to begin with, and now the courts are trying to say this president can't roll them back. And a district court judge prohibited the president from issuing any categorical funding freezes. And then another court ordered on top of that the administration makes $2 billion of payments in 36 hours. These are just a few of the ridiculous orders that we have seen from lower district court judges every day, and we hope that the Supreme Court will weigh in and rein them in.
But White House advisor Stephen Miller says it's judicial tyranny. Some people are calling it a judicial coup. You're saying you're responding to each and every one of these actions, efforts by these judges to delay or thwart the implementation of the agenda. But is there going to be anything more than that, or is it just going to let this operation continue, even though it could delay everything for years until the presidency is over?
The administration is operating under the directive given to from the president that we need to comply with the court's orders. He's made that very clear, but we're going to fight them in court, and we're going to win on the merits of these cases because we know we are acting within the president's legal and executive authorities. And thanks for being here. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Question on tariffs, but first actually some foreign policy news, some breaking news. Some local Israeli media is reporting that Prime Minister Netanyahu told hostage families that he's accepted a 60-day truce offer. So can you confirm, have Israel and Hamas agreed to a truce?
I can confirm that Special Envoy Witkoff and the president submitted a ceasefire proposal to Hamas that Israel backed and supported. Israel signed off on this proposal before it was sent to Hamas. I can also confirm that those discussions are continuing, and we hope that a ceasefire in Gaza will take place so we can return all of the hostages home, and that's been a priority from this administration from the beginning. I won't comment further as we are in the midst of this right now.
So to be clear, you don't know if Hamas has accepted it yet?
Not to my knowledge, but certainly if that becomes case and this ceasefire goes into effect, you'll hear it directly from myself, the president, or Special Envoy Witkoff.
And, on tariffs, Kevin Hassett earlier this morning, he brushed off a legal ruling and called it a hiccup, and he said that trade deal negotiations would continue. Why would other countries continue these trade deal negotiations given the ruling?
Because other countries around the world have faith in the negotiator-in-chief, President Donald J. Trump. And they also probably see how ridiculous this ruling is, and they understand that the administration is going to win, and we intend to win. We already filed an emergency appeal. We expect to fight this battle all the way to the Supreme Court. These other countries should also know, and they do know, that the president reserves other tariff authorities, Section 232, for example, to ensure that America's interests are being restored around the world. But I can confirm that our ambassador for trade, Jameson Greer, already heard from countries around the world this morning who said they intend to continue with these negotiations. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. So many of the president's plans right now are being blocked by courts. If the courts are going to be the ones who are shaping policy, does the president wish he would have just become a judge instead?
I think the president would take this job over being a judge, and certainly the president is acting within his authority. He wishes judges would do the same.
But so the courts are basically telling you guys they think that the White House's policies, the president's policies, are in some way against the law. So why can't President Trump ask the Republicans that control the House and the Republicans that control the Senate just to make a new law?
Well, these laws have already been granted to the president by the Constitution and by laws that have been previously passed. I'll give you another example. For instance, we've been blocked in court for the revocation of visas from individuals who have the privilege of studying in the United States of America. Secretary of State Rubio has simply used his authority to revoke those visas, to revoke that privilege, and we've seen the courts try to block that. So if these judges want to be the Secretary of State or they want to be the president, they can run for office themselves. It should be the other way around. But all of the actions the president has taken rely on legal authorities that have already been granted to him by our nation's existing laws.
And on a different topic, there are some folks in President Biden's inner circle who are now in talks with Republicans in Congress to give interviews about how they may have handled President Biden's decline. Is the president satisfied with aides only sitting for these transcribed interviews, or would he also like to see some kind of testimony from the former First Lady, Dr. Biden?
I think, frankly, the former First Lady should certainly speak up about what she saw in regards to her husband and when she saw it and what she knew, because I think anybody looking, again, at the videos and photo evidence of Joe Biden with your own eyes and a little bit of common sense can see this was a clear cover-up. And Jill Biden was certainly complicit in that cover-up. There's documentation, video evidence of her clearly shielding her husband away from the cameras. They were just on The View last week. She was saying everything is fine. She's still lying to the American people. She still thinks the American public are so stupid that they're going to believe her lies. And frankly, it's insulting, and she needs to answer for it. Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline. President Trump was asked what he thought about Elon Musk's claim that the big, beautiful bill increases the budget deficit and undermines the work of DOGE. And the president didn't actually comment on those remarks. He just talked about the need to support the bill. So what does the president think about what Elon Musk said?
Well, the president is very proud of the one big beautiful bill, and he wants to see it pass. He wants the Senate to get to work on it and send it to his desk as quickly as possible. Of course, as you know, Elon Musk announced last night his departure as an official special government employee from the Trump administration. We thank him for his service. We thank him for getting DOGE off of the ground, and the efforts to cut waste, fraud, and abuse will continue.
So he doesn't have any comment about Musk saying it adds to the deficit and it undermines all his work?
The president commented on this. I commented on it. I told you that this bill saves $1.6 trillion according to the Council of Economic Advisors and the analyses that the president believes in. So he gave a comment. I gave a comment. Just because you don't like that comment doesn't mean it's not a comment. Rachel.
Thanks, Caroline. Back on trade, I know you said the White House is going to fight this ruling in court. Is the administration actively reviewing other avenues, other options to carry out the president's trade policy?
The president's trade policy will continue. We will comply with the court orders, but yes, the president has other legal authorities where he can implement tariffs. However, it does not dispute the fact that the president was right to declare a national emergency when it came to fentanyl and when it came to our crippling deficits and the lack of critical supply chains here at home. That is the reasoning for the president's tariffs. And the court didn't dispute those facts, by the way. And there have been other courts that have reaffirmed the president's position. In fact, a ruling in federal court earlier this month shows that the administration is in the right, said we will win on appeal. A federal district judge in Florida ruled that IEEPA, in fact, does grant the president the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. And 20 years ago, I will add, they are not a court, the New York Times editorial board responded to the January 2005 trade deficit of $58.3 billion by writing an editorial entitled Dangerous Deficits. And since then, our trade deficit has more than doubled. The U.S. trade deficit in January totaled a whopping $131.4 billion. So people on both sides of the aisle, pundits, lawyers, legal scholars, politicians have all agreed that it is a national emergency, our trade deficits and our lack of critical supply chains here at home. It's just President Trump was the first president to actually act on it, to restore that wealth and that prosperity to the United States of America. And it's very unfortunate that the courts are now blocking his attempts to do that.
Has the administration then reached the point where you are actually asking your economic advisors to start reviewing other avenues to implement the president's trade policy, or do you want to just see this legal process take place for now?
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We are doing both. Josh.
The Fed says the president met with the Fed chair earlier today. I'm wondering if you can give us any readout of that meeting. The Fed also says that they discussed the economy. I imagine the president might have shared views on rates as well, but what can you share with us?
I can share with you that we saw, the president and I both saw the statement that the Fed put out after the meeting. That statement is correct. However, the president did say that he believes the Fed chair is making a mistake by not lowering interest rates, which is putting us at an economic disadvantage to China and other countries. And the president's been very vocal about that, both publicly and now I can reveal privately as well.
Did he speak at all about his plans for that position, but whether he would seek to move Jay Powell out of that position or keep him in until his term ends?
No.
Okay.
Kristen.
Very quickly on the tariff question, you mentioned Section 232 earlier. Are you suggesting that you might sort of speed up some of the existing 232 investigations? Or are you talking potentially using 232 as a replacement power if this ruling doesn't go your way? Of course, you hope it does.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just simply stating the fact that the president has other legal authorities he can use to implement tariffs, and the administration is willing to use those. As you know, we already have applied Section 232 tariffs on specific industries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
President Trump said that he needed 1.5 to 2 weeks to determine whether or not he believed Vladimir Putin wanted peace. He has been in office now for 4 months. What does he believe is going to happen in the next 1.5 to 2 weeks that would change his opinion?
Well, it is my understanding and it is our hope that Russia and Ukraine will engage in direct talks and negotiations next week in Istanbul. And we believe that meeting is going to take place. And that is a meeting the president encouraged and urged for these two sides to come together and negotiate directly. And the president has been clear from the very beginning of this conflict that he wants to see this conflict solved on the negotiating table, not on the battlefield. And he's told that to both leaders, again, both publicly and privately. So hopefully next week it will move the ball forward in this.
Is the United States going to participate in those conversations?
We will let you know if the president plans to send a representative. I'm not tracking that at this time. Kelly in the back.
Thanks, Caroline.
Sure.
I wanted to just clarify once and for all the Qatari jet, the sale, or the gift, because the Qatari government is asking the U.S. to clarify that the jet's pending transfer was initiated by the Trump administration. So is this something that the White House is going to do?
The amount of questions we've received, and we've been incredibly clear, and I have answered this, the president has answered this, the Department of Defense has answered this. This is a government-to-government gift transfer from the Qataris to the Department of Defense, to the United States Air Force. It is now in their hands, and for further details on where that stands, I would defer you to the Department of Defense and the United States Air Force. I have nothing more for you on that. Deanna.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions, one on Big Beautiful Bill, one on immigration.
Sure.
Yesterday, Trump said, we will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. Wondering if you could, share any specifics on that. And in immigration, do you know how many illegal migrants have taken Trump's voucher program so far and have deported themselves?
I believe it's in the thousands of those who have chosen the easier route of self-deportation, and we certainly encourage all illegal aliens who are present within our homeland to take that option. It's a much more pleasant option than being deported, and we will deport you if you're here illegally. That's our intention. As for the first question, what the president was speaking about is how this is a great bill. However, it has come as a result of a hard negotiation. It's difficult to get things done on Capitol Hill, but thanks to President Trump, this bill is moving in the right direction. And thanks to House Republicans and the leadership over there as well, who did a great job mediating both sides of the caucus to move this bill to the Senate. And now the president, again, has told his friends on the Senate side and is already engaged in those conversations to get that bill back to his desk as soon as possible. Sure.
Thank you.
Has this administration been briefed about the incident that happened in Gaza on Tuesday during the rollout of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution of aid to Palestinians there? And should there be a ceasefire, will this administration continue to rely on this foundation for the distribution of aid to civilians?
Are you referring, what incident are you referring to?
Tuesday,
when the aid was rolled out to Gaza for the first time in many months, and meals and food was given to hungry people thanks to President Trump. Yes, we were briefed on that plan. The president was the reason that aid went into Gaza, and he got the Israelis to support that plan. And I would add that the previous administration rejected such a plan to ensure that these starving and devastated people in the Gaza Strip were given humanitarian aid and assistance. And it was the previous administration that tried to build this pier, if you all remember it. It was brought to my attention this morning, and I thought that's a good point. Why don't I bring that up? Because there's been so much criticism. In fact, it was on the front page of a newspaper this morning about the criticism for this president having a humanitarian heart and giving people badly needed food and supplies. Nobody wanted to talk about how the previous administration failed in that endeavor. They built this pier that cost $230 million. It lasted about 20 days, and more than 60 U.S. service members were injured, as a part of this floating aid pier that did nothing for the people of Gaza. The president is opening up his humanitarian heart to get aid into the region while his team simultaneously negotiates a ceasefire and the return of all hostages. We are moving the ball forward in a positive direction for all people. The president wants to see peace for all people. Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Caroline. A notice investigation found that the Hallmark Maha Commission report that was released last week cites studies that appear to not exist. We know that because in part we reached out to some of the listed authors who said that they didn't write the studies cited. So I want to ask, does the White House have confidence that the information coming from HHS can be trusted?
Yes, we have complete confidence in Secretary Kennedy and his team at HHS. I understand there were some formatting issues with the Maha report that are being addressed, and the report will be updated, but it does not negate the substance of the report, which, as you know, is one of the most transformative health reports that has ever been released by the federal government and is backed on good science that has never been recognized by the federal government.
And a quick follow-up, can you talk about what tools or research goes into production of these kinds of reports? For instance, is it AI that's used to put together these reports now?
I can't speak to that. I would defer you to the Department of Health and Human Services. What I know is just what I told you. Lindsay.
Many small businesses that we've talked to since the tariffs have been in place have said what would really help them is a long-term plan so that they can catch up. In light of what's happened now, this trade war with the courts, how will that impact this 90-day window? Will you guys be adjusting that? And how can you help relieve some of these small businesses?
Well, I would say nobody understands the needs of business owners, and nobody has the backs of our small business community more than President Donald J. Trump. He believes, I've heard him talk about this with small business owners himself, that small businesses are truly the backbone of our American economy. And that's why the president is supporting the One Big Beautiful Bill. So for those you spoke to who are asking for a long-term plan, big tax cuts are coming their way. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime for their workers, more money in their pockets. Their bottom lines will be larger. They can pay their people more. Wages are going to go up. Inflation will continue to come down. We've already seen energy prices plummeting as a result of this president's economic and energy agenda that he has been implementing across the federal government, reducing burdensome regulation. All of that is good news for small business owners across the country. That's why they strongly support the president, and that's the Trump economic plan that is underway. And again, you're emphasizing, I believe, the need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, and the president wants to see that happen. Sure.
Will you still work within that 90-day window for these trade negotiations? Does that still stand?
Again, as far as we're concerned, our trade agenda is moving forward, and we've already heard from countries around the world today who will continue to negotiate in good faith with the United States so we can cut good trade deals on behalf of the American people, and we fully expect to win this case in court. Sure.
On Golden Dome, the president put out this number of $61 billion. How did he arrive at that? Is that the number it will cost to protect Canada, and is it negotiable, or where did it come from?
I can certainly ask the president, and I can check in with our research team, and we'll get you the facts on that number. But the Golden Dome is certainly a significant investment in our nation's national security and homeland security to protect Americans, all of you in this room, from future threats.
Have the Canadians been talking in good faith about paying to be in it? I know they've expressed some interest.
Well, the president has certainly expressed to the Canadians how we are essentially subsidizing their national defense. He brought it up in his meeting with their new leader here, and as you know, we'll be traveling to Canada next month for the G7, so I expect that topic of discussion to come up on that trip as well. Sure.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. There was a May Day USA rally in Seattle that happened over the weekend that devolved into some protests and riots. The Seattle Mayor Harrell said that it was a far-right rally held here to provoke a reaction by promoting beliefs that are inherently opposed to our city's values, which he defined as LGBT values. I know the FBI is looking into this, but has the president reached out to the mayor at all, asked him to apologize for this, and is this something that the administration would consider an example of anti-Christian bias?
I'm not aware of that case. I know the FBI is looking into it, but I'm not aware of any phone calls the president may or may not have made to the mayor of that city.
And then on DOGE, we know that Elon Musk is leaving. Do you have an updated leadership structure for who is leading the group? Is Russ Vought involved? And what is its new mission now, if any?
Well, the entire cabinet is involved, and I spoke to the president about it this morning, and the entire cabinet understands the need to cut government waste, fraud, and abuse, and each cabinet secretary at their respective agencies is committed to that. That's why they were working hand in hand with Elon Musk, and they'll continue to work with the respective DOGE employees who have onboarded as political appointees at all of these agencies. So surely the mission of DOGE will continue, and many DOGE employees are now political appointees and employees of our government, and to the best of my knowledge, all of them intend to stay and continue this important work.
Is there a DOGE leader taking the place of Mr. Musk?
Well, again, the DOGE leaders are each and every member of the president's cabinet and the president himself, who is wholeheartedly committed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from our government. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. There's conflicting reports out of the Middle East right now. Saudi television network Al Arabia is saying that Israel and Hamas have agreed to a 60-day ceasefire. Sources with Hamas are saying that has not been agreed to. If and when that does happen, will we expect to hear something from President Trump announcing that?
As I said earlier, yes, indeed. If there is an announcement to be made, it will come from the White House, the president, myself, or Special Envoy Witkoff.
Caroline, one big beautiful bill. The president says he's not happy with all aspects of it. What changes would he like to see be made? And can this bill be both big and beautiful?
It is a one big beautiful bill, as the name rings true. And the president, as I said, is currently working with his friends in the Senate who have some recommendations for the bill. Those negotiations and discussions are continuing, but the president's ultimate priority is to get this bill back to his desk for signature. And the president's priorities in this bill are non-negotiable in terms of the tax priorities he wants to see and the large tax cuts in the border investments that are currently in this bill. He is not going to allow them to go away for the American people. Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about, has the president spoken to any of these foreign leaders about these agreements that have been reached, specifically the case of the United Kingdom that already has an agreement in place after this decision of the court in New York?
Has the president talked to foreign leaders about what?
About the court decision in New York.
Which court decision in New York?
The trade court.
Oh, the trade court decision. He did speak to the leader of Japan this morning, and he said that was a very good call and a good discussion. And as I said, the president's cabinet, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Bessent, and Ambassador Jameson Greer have all been in touch with their counterparts in countries around the world to let them know the United States will still be at the negotiating table, and we still expect countries around the world to treat us fairly. Again, I will just close by saying that how ridiculous it is that we have been ripped off. Our middle class has been hollowed out. Our manufacturing base has left and gone overseas. Jobs have been offshored. And now no court did anything about that. No court did anything about hundreds of thousands of people being put out of work, about thousands of factories being closed down, about our deficits going to dangerous levels, as the New York Times has said. But now a court is trying to stop a president from trying to correct those wrongs of the past. And this administration will continue to do that. It's a promise the president made to the American people, and it's a promise they elected him on. We will win this battle in court, and the president will implement his America First trade policies. Thank you, everyone.
Is U.S. Steel situation tomorrow with the speaker?
I can tell you the president greatly looks forward to going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he will discuss this historic deal and discuss American jobs and American steel, and we hope to see you all there. Thanks, guys.
Well, she was obviously, without a doubt, many of you picked up on it, she was obviously ticked off. She was racing through her opening statement. You could see her energy. You could see the adrenaline. She was ticked off. That judge that came out earlier, as I showed you, and said, "Nah, you can't even do this anymore. Now, Marco, we got to keep Harvard's money flowing." And then I loved when she read through the litany of things and said, "This is all the things the judges have said no. Are you guys paying attention?" Obviously not, because the people in that room, including Peter Idiot Ducey, just don't even discuss what the heck she just said. The impact of everything she was telling these people. I can't wait. Monica Paige will be here at 3 o'clock, so we got an hour, so we're going to talk about some things. But I got to ask her, I'm like, Monica, why are they just ignoring the news that she's telling them? The press secretary, who is speaking on behalf of the president, is telling you all this stuff, which, if you're doing your job, most of it you should already know. And they sit there quietly and ask stupid questions because they wrote the questions. That's another thing, probably. Some of these people are so worried about what's going to happen that they probably wrote these questions knowing this was happening today. I don't know, maybe yesterday afternoon, and they just stick with the same question. They don't look currently what's happening and actually address a question that you, the American people, would want to hear. But if you listened closely, you can tell. Oh, Monica's at 2:30. Okay. If you listen closely, you can tell she's talking to you. You see, again, signal versus noise. She knows these people don't care. She knows these people won't report it. She knows she's on camera and she's talking to you. This is all the stuff that President Trump is going through. You guys see it. You understand what's happening. You understand that there's no other way. I know some people were probably like, Barry, what the hell are you talking about? I want you to begin paying attention to signal and not noise. Epstein, noise. Complete noise. Arresting people, noise. Signal, what the hell is actually happening? And if you pay attention to what actually is happening, it becomes very, very clear. It's like the veil will clear and you're like, oh, I see this now. Yeah. Because the first thing you have to understand, first takeaway at this point, ask yourself, can this continue past the midterms? And then you'll probably think to yourself, there's no way. There's no way this stuff can continue. President Trump will be handcuffed. I mean, there's nothing he can do and that's what they're hoping for. Let me just back up. The second thing you have to realize is they know it too. All of them on the other side, I'll point to the left since they're lefties, they know what's happening. They know what's coming. They are now putting their ducks in a row so that they can scream bloody murder that President Trump's not paying attention to the Constitution and he's being rogue and he's doing crazy stuff because they're setting up their ducks. They know if they win the midterms, they are going to impeach him. No doubt. They probably can't wait for right after the election in November. A week later, once they're sworn in, they will impeach him. So they're going to keep continuing about everything he's doing wrong, and he's not listening to the judges, and he's blah, 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 blah. So they're setting up their ammo. On this side, President Trump needs to be putting his together. So if you don't know, if you're just going about life and just not paying any attention, you're going to be completely left in the cold. Prepare. Understand what's about to happen. Somebody in the chat was pretty funny. Ashley told me, she said, stop listening and stop reading everything that the nuts say. But there was one person who said something I got to address. And that person said, Barry, you're getting ahead of things. Are you just doing this to have something to talk about with a podcast? And I don't know when he posted it because I just scroll through and I'm like, well, it's pretty interesting that exact thing I started with when I said, look at what this judge did. This judge has now said this. What was the very first thing that Caroline came out and said? On fire. Because she's paying attention, and obviously I'm paying attention to the stuff that actually matters. I haven't heard President Trump, again, say in one speech, what's going on with the Epstein files? Nope, hasn't talked about it. And so I'm going to continue here. I didn't know Monica was coming on at 2:30 instead of 3 o'clock. I must have misread it. So I got a hustle here. Ashley says she sent me something because I got a whole bunch of stuff that I want to show you guys as well. But man, be ready, people. Again, don't listen to me. That's the easiest thing you can do. Don't listen to me. Start looking. Start verifying yourself. Let me see what these guys. I'm going through here so I can bring these up after the. Thank you. So she's got Monica's wedding photo, which is a beautiful photo. We'll show that when she gets in. So with all this stuff that's happening, and in Florida, as you know, I've told you, they are now using gold and silver as legal tender. Why do you think all of a sudden? Again, do your research. Understand why all of a sudden did Ron DeSantis say, hey, listen, we're going to make gold and silver legal tender out of the blue. And a couple other states as well. When you start looking at all the different things that are happening, you put the breadcrumbs together, they're telling you stuff. Signal, noise. Signal, noise. Get rid of the noise. Listen to what people are saying. Like Dan Bongino said, don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. Don't believe a word I say. Start educating yourself. It's easy to sit back and type a bad comment. Oh, you're crazy. I don't know. Maybe because I do so much research to do these shows, I see more than the average person sees. And I click here, and I click there, and I click this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much. And then I have to see, is this person a whack job? Is this person a whack job? And Ashley will tell me, hey, listen, you got to interview this person or you got to interview this person. I don't know who this person is. Let me do some more research. And then you start researching. Like, okay, this person's good to talk to. They know their crap. You at home need to start understanding signal versus noise and try to eliminate as much noise as possible. And one of those things is understanding, why did Ron DeSantis? Oh, I don't live in Florida. All right, well, think about it. Why did the governor of Florida decide he was going to make gold and silver legal tender down here? Which, actually, Robin's over at, well, she's going to get some more gold. Maybe you should. We're in a very volatile time right now. There's plenty of financial uncertainty. Now is not the time to be speculative. And I'm also speaking from a personal perspective. I'm buying income-producing real estate, and I'm buying gold and silver. A lot of people don't know the difference between the economy and the stock market. And too many people listen to the news and social media. That'll get you in trouble. Let's face it. It's obvious that a lot of people have an agenda they're not telling you about. Right now, your best bet is stability. And that means you might need to build a hedge against global volatility. May I recommend gold and silver to you? Real gold and real silver. Not paper, not certificates. Actual gold and silver. What gold and silver can give you is absolute peace of mind. A stock is only as good as the company behind it. It's merely a piece of paper. One of the things I can tell you is that many people are finding out the hard way that some of their investments were built on quicksand. Gold will never be worth zero. Silver will never be worth zero. If you want to calm some of your fears, give my friends at Lear Capital a call today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. Just so you know, Lear Capital has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $5 billion in trusted transactions. And Lear is the only gold company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So go to learberry.com. If you want peace of mind, give my friends at Lear Capital a call at 800-601-5430. Or look down here below and go to learberry.com. And don't forget to ask about getting up to $15,000 in free gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't wait. Do it now. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Be safe. All right, so I want to talk to you about some other news stories that are kind of related to what you've heard thus far before and after the press conference. One of those things is this is Tom Homan speaking about what's been going on with the efforts he's been making. And as you watch this, look at his face. Look at what this man is saying and how he looks as he's saying it.
We got the most secure border in the history of this nation right now because of President Trump and his leadership. President Trump's a game changer. Like him or love him, no one's been more successful in securing the border than President Trump. Unprecedented success. But right now, we're seeking the millions of illegal aliens in this country illegally, many of them public safety threats that the Biden administration released in the country without proper vetting. Look, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of angel moms and dads, which is, you had this discussion before. Why do I take this job so seriously? Why do I get emotional and lose my temper in front of Congress or on news stations? Because I'm sick and tired of meeting angel moms and dads who buried their children because they were killed by illegal aliens and shouldn't be here. Under the Biden administration, we have proven that they released public safety threats into the community, knowing they were a public safety threat. Secretary Mayorkas stood on TV how many times saying everybody's property vetted before they're released, and we found out that wasn't true. Men and women of the Border Patrol had one instruction: process quick, release quick, because there's no overcrowding here, there's nothing to see, and there's no border issue. So these people were processed so quickly, they can't possibly run their criminal history. Plus we don't have access to criminal history of people from Venezuela and El Salvador and these other countries. So Secretary Mayorkas lied to the American people, the Biden administration lied to American people, and we're trying to fix the problem. There are a lot of public safety threats in this country. 600,000, an estimate right now, 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal convictions walking the streets of this country. That's why we need this big, beautiful bill passed, so we can put the resources.
So as you listen to what he said, in that last number he spoke of 600,000 hardcore criminal newcomers, as they know right now, 600,000. So at the pace that they're going right now, it's about a little over 1,000 to 1,500 people a day they're getting out. So if there's 600,000, if you did 1,000 every single day for a year, that's only 365,000. It would take you nearly 2 years at this pace just to get those people out of here. And you're still only 600,000 people in. So again, I'm going to ask you a question. Here comes Crazy Barry. If we need to get these people out, and as you can look and see, Tom Homan looks kind of pained in his face. How are you going to get 5, 6, 7,000 people out of here per day? How's it going to happen? With the judges fighting you, with the Congress fighting you, the Democrats going crazy, the media going crazy, you can't get the funding. How are you going to get this done? Do your research. Figure out how many people there are that they've gotten out. What's the pace? Do the math yourself. And then when you do the math, you sit back and go, yeah, we're not even putting a dent. We're not even getting to the point where we can make any headway. I'd look pissed off and pained too. Like, what am I doing here? We need to roll. How do you hope? How does it happen? How does it happen so that we can unleash this man and so he can do what he needs to do? What would have to happen so that Tom Homan can increase his force, use every resource he possibly can to round people up and get them out of here? What would have to happen? And if you ask yourself that question, and seriously, and you sit back, well, it's not the DOJ, no. It's not the FBI, no, that can't happen. Congress, no, they're not doing anything. Military. That's the only way. At the end of all of your discussions, as you begin looking at things like just what he just said, here's just a minute and 40-second clip, and just the information he gave you, if you've done your research, you will sit there and go, there's no way this is going to happen. There is no way, by doing it in drips and drabs and fighting judges and everything else, this is going to happen. So then I will ask you to answer the question yourself. Don't believe me. Don't believe Tom Homan. Do your own research and see if you can find the answer to that question. How are we going to get 10, 12 million people out of this country? Let me know when you come up with the answer. Because either the answer is we're not, or we're going to have to put the military to work. There's no in between. There's nothing, and you're reasonable adults. You don't have to listen to me. You can come to your own conclusions. See, the whole idea with this is to get people information, to show them information where they think, they go without emotion and go, okay, so it's my task. I am now Tom Homan's assistant. Barry, come up with a plan to get these people out of here. How many? Let's start with the 600,000. Okay. What do you do? I feel like Dennis Hopper in the movie Speed. What are you going to do, hotshot? What are you going to do to get these 600,000 people out of here, given all the obstacles? All the obstacles that Caroline Leavitt just laid out for you. Judge after judge after judge. I'm pretty sure if you're not going to be stubborn, you're going to realize, oh, it ain't Cash Patel. It ain't Dan Bongino. It's military. And if you start approaching every single question like that, see if you can come up with the answer. How are we going to stop these judges? How are we going to stop these judges in a timely fashion before the midterms and everything else? Well, it can't be Cash and Pam and Dan, because as soon as they arrest one person, they're going to lawyer up and it's going to be a year-long case and blah, blah. Nope, can't happen. So I'm welcome. I welcome people to challenge what I'm saying, but you better challenge me more with some substantive information. Information that you looked up and have calculated with. No, there's no way. There's nothing here. Remember what President Trump said when he was going during the campaign? We'll probably hear it tomorrow. Maybe you might hear it tomorrow at the rally. I am going to obliterate the deep state. You can't obliterate the deep state with Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi. It ain't gonna happen. There's no obliteration for those three people and their 30,000 whatever people to do. It ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna obliterate the deep state by going into court cases after court cases after court cases. Ain't gonna happen. So you tell me. Go ahead and do your research. Don't believe me. Don't believe Dan Bongino. Do your own research. Tell me how you obliterate the deep state. So it was either he was talking crap, which I do not believe, then there's only one answer for you. And if you understand that tells you everything where things are going. And then Tom Homan walked out of that television appearance and made this talk at the White House. I'm not sure. Let me check what the volume is like.
Yeah, the assaults on ICE officers are high. The doxing of ICE officers are at an all-time high. And people always complain, some of you here say, why are they wearing masks? Because they're trying to protect themselves and their families. They got a dangerous job to do, and they're being doxed every day across this country. I've experienced myself 100 times, but I'm willing to take that because of the position I hold. And, we're not running a popularity contest. We're trying to enforce the laws enacted by Congress, doing it in a smart, effective way. So, yeah, the results are up, but it won't be tolerated. We've already shown you put a hands on an ICE officer, you can be prosecuted to the highest extents of the law. So we're not playing with that, with any threats against ICE officers. Doxing, we're going to look at doxing. We're going to take action on that also.
So now you've got members of the coalition of idiots on the left who are taking it upon themselves to dox ICE officers. Well, there's only one reason you would do that. The only reason you would do that is to put these people in danger. And then you got idiot people in the media going, well, why are they wearing masks? That's how stupid the media is, or how stupid they want to appear to ask a stupid question. So again, ask yourself the question. These people are doxing ICE agents, Border Patrol people. They're doxing them. What are we doing? See, again, the war has started, but most people don't even realize we're in a war. The media's not going to tell you that. The media's not telling you that they're basically attacking ICE agents. Nope. If you don't know, you don't know. So when he's saying this, you either have to believe him or you educate yourself and start reading up on what's happening. And then you say, wow, they're doing all of this too on top of everything else? Yep. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Let me play this one. This is from today or last night with Ted Cruz.
Well, listen, the left's reaction to Elon Musk shows what utter hypocrites they are. You know, we've seen for the better part of a decade the left screaming that climate change is going to end humanity and nothing matters more than stopping the internal combustion engine and moving to electric vehicles. Elon Musk started what became the largest electric vehicle manufacturer in the world, Tesla, and 5 years ago Elon was a hero to the left. And then he had the temerity to actually speak the truth, to support Donald Trump, to speak up against the madness of open borders, to speak up against the insanity of men and women's sports, to speak up against the woke mind virus. And the left decided he was Adolf Hitler. He was the embodiment of evil. They're engaged in domestic terrorism against him. What you said is exactly right. I think the American people ought to be saying to Elon, thank you, thank you, thank you. He came and spent 4 months working for the American people free of charge, didn't collect a salary, made nothing. He rooted out massive waste, fraud, and abuse, and he did so at enormous cost to himself.
So I have a question. I guess I'm full of questions today. Hopefully you guys will do some answers. But from what you've seen over the last, I don't know, year or so, with Elon Musk going to the rallies, endorsing President Trump, spending $1 gazillion helping President Trump, having all his buddies get involved with DOGE, what's the guy, Anthony Gracias? I mean, so many people. And if you saw the video originally, these were people, captains of industry. So all these people got together to help DOGE. And so my question is, with as much as he has invested in Trump, as much as these other businessmen have invested in Trump, do you really, 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 really think he's walking away? You've seen them together at Mar-a-Lago. You've seen them together traveling different places. You've seen them him in cabinet meetings. Do you think at this point he's up and taking his toys and going home? No, I don't believe that. And we shall see in the coming days what happens. Will he be at the rally tomorrow? I don't know. Will we see him, at different events and things? I don't know. But I can almost guarantee you, because businessmen don't work that way, and businessmen who care about America, there is going to be some phone calls and some strategic meetings still happening with Elon Musk, even though he's not the figurehead of DOGE. Because there's no way you can detach at this point. He's still a government contractor. What's this? Just looking. So all of this, just keep in the back of your mind as you're watching all this. So here's something else that President Trump is probably going to get sued for this as well.
The administration has canceled a contract with Moderna for the development of a bird flu vaccine for humans. Our Angelica Peebles joins us now with more, and you could conjecture a lot of things about this between RFK Jr. and vaccines and mRNA. What's behind all this, Angela?
Yeah, good morning, Joe. So this is just the latest in a string of events that we've seen related to COVID vaccines over the last week. And what's happening here is that the Trump administration is canceling a more than $700 million contract with Moderna to develop a bird flu vaccine and other pre-pandemic influenza viruses. And so what's really notable about this is that obviously we've seen this, we've seen bird flu tearing through birds and also dairy cows and the risk to humans. And so what we saw in the Biden administration is that they really ramped up this work, and they were helping to fund, they were going to fund a phase 3 trial to see if we could use mRNA for a bird flu vaccine if it indeed spills over to humans. And now the cancellation of this vaccine is quite a surprise. Maybe not a surprise now, because we had been hearing rumblings about this for the past few months. But, we just saw this this contract ramp up right before the last administration left. And now you have the Trump administration saying that they felt like after a rigorous review, we concluded that the continued investment in Moderna's H5N1 mRNA vaccine was not scientifically or ethically justifiable. And they're saying that it's not just about efficacy, it's about safety. And so it's interesting to hear them really casting doubt on just the safety and the efficacy of mRNA vaccines as a whole.
So, $700 million. Nearly $1 trillion. They just said, nope, we're not buying it. Notice what she said. When did this happen? Ooh, right before President Trump took office. So they tried to slide in something else, another poison pill just before President Trump took office, to the tune of $700 million that they are now not going to be spending. No one in the media, other than like CNBC, didn't hear anyone in the press room talking about, hey, so can we talk about the $700 million? I'll use Robin math right now. Hey, we didn't spend it, so we got the ability to spend it someplace else. $700 million is now not being spent on Moderna. So that means there's $700 million in the coffers, per se, that could be spent elsewhere, right? Right. That makes sense. Nobody's talking about it. Let's see here. Love this one. Anna Paulina Luna calls for voiding Adam Schiff's pardon from Joe Biden. Here we go. All right, that was at 12:50 today. So notice 12:50 was before the press conference. Not a single person in the media said, hey, Caroline, what's this about voiding Adam Schiff's pardon? Because obviously if you can void Adam Schiff's pardon, then that means you can void, Adam Kinzinger's pardon. And if you can avoid Adam Kinzinger's problem, there's a couple other people there that are probably quaking in their boots. Liz Cheney? Fauci? If this is where it's heading, these people are going to start freaking out. But even then, let me ask you a question. If Trump invalidates these pardons, what's the first step the opponent's going to do? They're going to sue. They're going to go to court. They're going to have a court and decide if he's able to do it. They're going to have to look at the AutoPen stuff. And then sometime about, next July, something will happen. You think that's the answer? Or do you think some other guys known as the military can come in and take things up? How much time do I got? All right, so I'm going to go here. Well, you know what? Let me take some comments. It's been a while since we've had any comments. Well, Nick, tell us how you really feel. F. Moderna. Put Fauci in prison. Let's see here. It's only to lower the flames for Musk. He's never left in the process of barreling the fuel to burn it all down. I agree there. Elon only had 130 days to work with the government because he was temporary. Correct. So it's everyone who's looking into this understand that this was all pre-planned as well. The mainstream media questions are 2 weeks old. Yep, they probably. Barry, could the where'd that go? Could the Democrat rot also involve Europe? As a republic, you can't officially join, but unofficially, I don't think it's a Democrat rot. I think it's the globalist agenda, and that definitely encompasses Europe. So yeah, they have an interest in seeing us fail per se as well. So we will see. Glad you're posting a lot of great questions. Thank you. Gives you guys the opportunity to go look some of this stuff up and start looking for yourself. Let's see here. This is your own opinion. Of course it is. Prefaced by the fact of go look it up. You can go look up and see if Elon Musk had a 130-day contract or appointment. You can find that out. So what you're seeing isn't surprising. Moderna canceling $700 million. You can go look it up. So I'm not sure what you mean, because I told you. Yeah, it's my opinion. Go look it up. Go talk to law enforcement. If you're talking about, I don't know, if you're talking about all the things I said about we're at war, if I'm wrong, which of course I could be, you tell me what the options are. I would love for people to begin looking at things not from a heart or emotion. Look yourself as to what could potentially happen and how long it takes to happen, and do we have that amount of time? Also, if you remember what President Trump said, and I just mentioned it, which is not my opinion, he said, I am here to obliterate the deep state. So I would ask you that question. How would you obliterate the deep state? You can get on with it. You can get on with it and let me know. So before Monica comes, I got 10 minutes. I'm going to jump into this. It's rather long, but I'm going to wait. It's really long, so I'm going to wait. So let's go over here to Marjorie Taylor. It's not as long, but it's long. Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's happening. House is going to vote on defunding NPR and PBS. After years of demanding an end to the use of your hard-earned tax dollars to fund left-wing propaganda, we're finally getting it done. Thanks to President Trump's leadership and the relentless work of DOGE and the DOGE committee, the first rescissions package is headed to the House and includes cuts to NPR and PBS. Public broadcasting has become nothing more than a mouthpiece for the Democrats' woke agenda. They lie about our president, smear conservatives, and push radical gender ideology on our children, all while raking in taxpayer dollars from a nation that overwhelmingly rejects their propaganda. No more. And then DOGE AI says taxpayer-funded NPR progressive activism masquerading as journalism. Rural stations get less than 6% of dollars appropriated, while millions go to DEI. 60% of Americans wouldn't fund this voluntarily. Time to end a government propaganda racket. Defund government-sponsored propaganda. Stops the waste. And I love what Gunther says right under it. Any GOP dissenters yet? Which you know is coming. See, one of the things when you start thinking about things in regards to are we at war internally right now, is why are there so many? Why are there so many GOP people who are fighting President Trump? And how do you fix that as well? How do you fix the ability to make sure that people who are in office are doing the best for America and not for special interests or anything like that? How do you do that? And I understand the answer to that question is really scary. There's nothing much scarier than understanding that the military ain't something to play with. When you hear Pete Hegseth talk and he keeps saying we're going to make this the most lethal force on the planet, and you're saying you want to put that lethal force with all of their resources in play in America, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Flying drones, all kinds of unmanned objects, rolling in Humvees, doing all this stuff, going into courthouses, going into Congress, going into the media and legal offices. It's terrifying. But at some point, your mom gets tired of telling you what to do, and she's tired of you talking back, and she pulls out the yardstick or a brush or a belt. And I think we are at that belt stage. I don't think you have the opportunity to keep saying over and over and over, just give them more time. Just give them more time. So I got two questions for you. One, how much time do you want to give people to get to the bottom of this? Because if you say a couple weeks or a couple months, that's just the arrest. It doesn't change anything. In fact, if you're to arrest Obama or Hillary or Adam Schiff, they'll be out of jail before the news stops going. They'll post bail. They're going to walk out. And then they're going to complain on TV all day long. You're not going to, it doesn't do anything. So now you're going to sit down and do a trial? In the interim, while this trial is taking place, what's happening with us? What happens with Trump's ability to, quote, obliterate the deep state? So you need to tell me and tell other people, if you think it's a little bit too strong, what do you think is going to happen? What's your time frame on letting, I don't know, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi arrest somebody? Arrest somebody. See, that, in essence, I don't know if you've thought that out. Arresting people just starts the clock. Ooh, they got arrested. So? What do you mean? So? What do you think's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen if somehow Hillary Clinton was arrested tomorrow? Well, I can tell you what's going to happen. Some judge will give, she's not a threat to society. She's going to post bail. If there even is a bail, she may get out on her own recognizance, and she'll walk probably right out to a limo that will take her right to CNN or MSNBC. Well, she'll scream bloody murder. That's, oh, he's a Hitler. Nothing changes. Gonna go right back to the same playbook. He's Hitler. He's fascist. He's a Nazi. Nothing changes. Not one thing. So if you want it changed, I'd love for you to tell me how it changes. So you want to go through a dog and pony show for 8 or 9 months of, because you're going to have the best lawyers possibly known to man, and they will string out every single thing. The media will, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to try OJ again. I don't want to see if the glove fits. We already know it doesn't fit. And then, what do if you do wait 9 or 10 months, and then all of a sudden she's found not guilty, and then you can't try her again because you just tried her now because you can't do double jeopardy, and then she's free to wreak havoc 8, 9 months down the road. See, these are the questions I tell myself. These are the questions I sit back and I have asked myself because I've already come to this conclusion. And I've thought every single way I can and going, no, that doesn't do it. That doesn't change anything. So I'm asking you to do the same thing. Again, don't listen to Barry. Barry's crazy. Ask yourself, oh, they're going to arrest Hillary. Okay, then what happens? What happens next? And then many of you may have not even thought of it that far. Oh, she got arrested. Great. Oh, yeah, we're getting her. See, until you start game planning this out, I mean, I understand we're just people. We're not involved in the whole thing. But for your own edification, and once you start thinking the next thing down the line and thinking, okay, it's not going to work. You can't obliterate the deep state if you're dancing with the deep state. You cannot obliterate the deep state if deep state is still somewhat involved in calling the shots. So with all of that being known, which if I'm the first one telling you, maybe it's setting in and you're starting to realize, oh crap, we really don't have any options, do we? Don't listen to me. You need to come to that realization on your own. See, it's easy to call me crazy or other people crazy. And it's a lot harder to call yourself crazy. Because once you come to that same conclusion, you become what you've said I am. And so I challenge you. I challenge you not to listen to what I'm saying, but instead take what I'm saying and go research it yourself. Because before today, you may have thought, I'll give Dan Bongino and Kash and Pam Bondi time. And that time was to what? So you didn't answer that next question. Oh, yeah, I still believe in Dan Bongino. Oh, you do? Oh, I still believe in Kash. Good. So what do you want to see happen? I want to see arrests. Okay. Then what do you want to see? You see, at that point, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are done. It's like, hey, we did our job. We arrested the person. What do you do next? Go arrest some more people. Okay. and I'm repeating this because I want it to really sink in that what you're focusing on does not help America. It's politiporn. It's stuff for you to look at and get, oh, yeah, this is fantastic. Oh, Trump's kicking butt. And then all of a sudden, next November 2026 happens. You're like, what the hell is going on? So how do you make it sure that we stomp this crap out completely? How do we get rid of it? That's why I keep asking questions. All right, so Monica is doing now. Let me go ahead and go to a break, and hopefully she will be in at that time. All right, be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so Monica Paige is here, and I can see her. I hope her microphone is working. She's getting set up. Before Monica gets on, for those of you who don't know, Monica recently got married. President Trump acknowledged her marriage, and I don't want to embarrass her, but I definitely want to show this. This is Monica and her new husband. What a beautiful, stunning picture. I mean, just look, you guys remember it being like that, don't you? Those of you who got married, being able to look at your spouse and understand how she feels with those eyes and how he feels looking to her, and just a stunning picture. I absolutely love it. Happy for her. Let me make sure Monica's here. Monica, are you in here? There you are.
Hi, Barry. How's it going?
Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. I mean, did you get any time? You look fantastic in that dress. I'm not being a fanboy or anything, but and to tell your husband I'm not ogling you, but I'm like, that is just a spectacular picture, and you guys look extremely happy. Extremely happy.
You.
How's it been?
Thank you. It was a beautiful wedding. Oh my God, it was so great. I mean, we had rain here like crazy the days before, the days after the wedding. May 10th was the only day that it did not rain. So we got so lucky. I know rain's good luck, but it was beautiful regardless, whether it rained, it would have rained or not. It was spectacular. We did a honeymoon in Costa Rica for a week, and now we're back and we're ready to rock and roll, Barry.
I was wondering because when I talked to you last time, you weren't sure if you were going to be able to get away, and then President Trump decides to go off to the Middle East or UAE and Saudi Arabia, and I'm like, now would be a time to sneak away while he's gone. So I'm glad you guys got to go to Costa Rica. How was Costa Rica?
Oh, it was beautiful. It worked out perfectly. I mean, May is kind of rainy season, but it rained and thunderstormed towards the nighttime, so we didn't really miss out on any sun at all. We did the beach and the pool, and we did some hiking. We got chased out of the woods by some howler monkeys. That was a whole experience. That was wild. I thought it was Planet of the Apes revival in those woods, but it ended up being like a great, great time. We got a nice tan, took some honeymoon sand. It was great. So it's been like all gas, no brakes here at the White House, though, since I've been back.
So were you in there today?
Yeah, I was just in there. It was kind of a brutal press briefing. A lot of the same questions, different variations of the same question. So, I mean, you know how it goes. But it was decent. It was a decent press briefing. There was one last week or 2 weeks ago where I got to ask a question regarding the Take It Down Act, I believe it was. So since I've been back, it's been pretty good.
All right, so today she comes out, Caroline, and she looks either pissed off or she looked pissed off. Everybody here was watching it and they're like, she looks pissed off, and she must have just, before walking out, find out about this judge who has decided they're going to, try to invalidate the whole thing with Harvard and stuff. But it's just one after the other. She read through them. One of the questions I have is, as she's reading through this stuff and basically breaking news to people, why is it that most of the mainstream people are sitting in front just seemingly ignore it? They just don't even ask questions about what she's actually saying.
And when they do ask the questions, Barry, it's basically what she just said. And if they don't like what Caroline says, they'll still ask the question anyway. If they don't like the comment, they'll ask it again and again. And it's like, her comment's not going to change. Those are the facts of what's coming out of the White House. If you don't like it, that's too bad. That's what's coming out of the White House. And just because you don't like a comment doesn't mean you can keep asking the same question about it. But when it comes to these judges, it's completely a judicial coup. It's judicial tyranny at the end of the day. These judges thinking they can usurp the powers of the presidency, where they think that they're the president at this point at this White House. And it's crazy to think that, when Joe Biden was going against the Supreme Court when it came to those student loan forgiveness plans and just going over the heads of those judges, media was silent. There was no criticism of this administration. He could do whatever he wanted, Joe Biden, and it'd be all fair and done. But when it comes to President Trump, he can't. He's like his hands are tied, essentially. But I hope that President Trump just ignores these judges, does what he has to do. People voted for this. This is what people voted for. And if you're going to usurp the powers of the presidency, what are you doing? It's so conflicting, and it's quite confusing as well, because they start throwing in all these different rules and all these different terms and trying to flip the switch on the. It's wild. This is unprecedented, essentially, Barry.
Without naming names, if you can see that he has to move forward by ignoring these people, are other people in the press room is it starting to dawn on them that something must be coming? He's going to have to ignore these people? Judges.
Yeah, at the end of the day, President Trump is going to do what the people voted for. Just because the mainstream media and top Democrats don't like it doesn't mean it's going to stop him from doing anything. When the majority rules, this is the power of the people. This is the people's house. It's not the president's house. And I think that you were going to see some of that coming very soon when it comes out of this White House.
Now, is that something basically you've been hearing, or just a gut from being around everybody?
I think it's just a gut feeling, especially when he has the support of people in his circle like Stephen Miller, who has really not backed down. He's probably one of the president's strongest members of his inner circle, fighting this left and right, tooth and nail, when it comes to these kinds of things. So this is kind of a feeling that I'm getting. But in regards to the press secretary, I do agree that she kind of gave off an energy today that she was just kind of fed up with the mainstream media. She is sick of the media spinning left and right, of the truth of all of this and what the president's trying to do. And I'm interested to see where this goes moving forward. But this is not going to be an issue that goes away anytime soon. This is going to follow the president throughout the next 3.5 years. We saw it back in 2016 when he was president. These judges, this is something that's going to be a constant, unfortunately.
Is there any talk as to why these judges are acting this way and who's motivating them to take these drastic steps that are obviously unconstitutional at this point?
Well, there's got to be a paper trail somewhere, right? And somebody's connected to somebody. A judge's daughter or son works for XYZ, who's part of George Soros's inner circle, of course. They're all connected, unfortunately. And they have a lot of power, a lot more power than people really believe or really realize. So I'm hoping that this administration stands firm in what it needs to do. But there will be much more to come. This is more than 100 days so far, and this is already happening. Buckle up, I think.
I've been telling everybody, and no, we did not plan this in advance. I've been telling everybody what she just says, buckle up. This could go crazy. So since we have to buckle up, let me ask you a follow-up on that. If something happens that is either him ignoring the judges or going full Andrew Jackson, how do you think the media is going to react?
Well, the media is obviously going to weaponize the president and this administration and be like, oh, he's going against the legal status of the president, is defying court orders. trying to make him seem like this is the end of democracy as we know it. This is the same song and dance, Barry. The same things we heard in 2016. They'll try to revive it, but I think that people know better and they can see with their own eyes, given the amount of transparency and accessibility to the president and this administration, that we will be getting honest answers and real-time updates on the status of these injunctions or the court rulings. So I think I think we'll be okay, but as long as the people know the truth and listen to what's coming out of the White House rather than MSDNC and CNN, I think we'll be okay.
Now, were you back? I'm not sure the timing of it, if you were back yet. Were you there when the South African president was there?
Oh yeah, that was like my first week back,
Okay.
and that was quite an awkward interaction. Much needed. The president coming with receipts as he does, and of course Caroline Leavitt obviously as well. But to see the spin from the media, like we saw with Peter Alexander from NBC, to be like, oh, what about that plane that was gifted to the president during his Middle East trip? What does that have to do with anything? We're talking to the South African president, not the Middle East. And that's also a question that keeps being asked. Like, it boggles my mind how the mainstream media reporters try to pivot the conversation or turn the narrative to something completely different. Let's not focus on the president's successes and what he's doing. Let's focus on these gifts that that Saudi Arabia has been giving. That's not the point of all of this. And it's very frustrating, not only from the perspective of somebody who wants to bring the truth to the American people, but I can imagine it being frustrating for the American viewer who's watching the TV screen. But anyway, getting back on topic, that was definitely the most awkward interaction since Ukrainian President Zelensky's visit here at the White House. The white genocide happening in South Africa. And then you also had Yamiche Alcindor from NBC, her asking, those are baseless claims. Okay, and thank goodness Caroline shut that down real quick and saying, oh, well, if they're baseless, why don't you talk to your friends over at Reuters or AP who have reported on this, shown the picture of the white crosses symbolizing the death of the white farmer, each white farmer, and also the caption as well. This is the same song and dance from the Biden administration. Don't believe your own eyes, don't believe your ears. How much longer can they keep up with this narrative? I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's in plain sight at this point, too.
Well, the people are getting bored with it. I can tell when I look at the comments on when we're watching it, and it's like you already know what's going to happen. It's the same old things. The plane, and at least they stopped asking about the Maryland man. They've let that thing die out. But every single time they try to attack him, they don't try to listen to what he says. The other day when Judge Jeanine was getting sworn in the Oval Office, he had to smack another reporter, and they just don't listen. So I don't know how it's going to change, and at this point, he's just going to do what he has to do, I guess. I mean, do you see it changing at all?
No, not at all. And that's what's frustrating about it, because when you hear the same, this administration's been like a broken record when it comes to the president's successes and all the things that he's pushing through and everyone's lived reality. When you hear a question from these reporters, it's like, what reality are you living in? And it's so frustrating for me to hear it. And that's really the best way to put it. It's frustrating, and it really makes you wonder what is being said behind closed doors. How are they really viewing? Are they looking at this world the same way I am? Are our brains operating on the same wavelength? Because clearly it's a totally different world. And that's what's really, it's so unbelievable. It's like there's no words for it. And I don't think it's ever going to go away, unfortunately.
Are there any questions in regards well, we don't hear them, but I don't know if you're hearing them off screen about Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and what they're doing with the FBI, or what Pam Bondi's doing with the DOJ, because these guys go on television, they do these reports, and then I was expecting that maybe something today they would have talked about something during a press conference, but again, they don't even bring it up.
They don't ask those questions, and that's something that I would love to know more about, especially when it comes to the surveillance footage that I'm hearing we might get. We heard that from Dan Bongino as of this morning on Fox News, or with that either today or yesterday. I'm waiting for all that. I mean, I'm glad we got the Robert Hur audio, which is fantastic. But these are the questions that people need to be asking. What's the status on these types of things? And unfortunately, it's whatever the mainstream narrative is at this point is what the mainstream media is going to ask about. So I'm assuming that there's more to come. I'm about to shoot off an email to the press office and see if we can get some of those answers on a status of some sorts. So hopefully I'll be able to provide you guys with an update sometime
Please.
soon regarding that. Yeah, of course. But these are the questions that everyday Americans have. They're not wondering, about, the elite, whatever the hell that they're talking about.
Right.
It's not about protecting illegal immigrants. It's about everyday people want the answers to this kind of stuff. Things have been covered up from the previous administration for years. We want answers to it. So I'm hoping we can get some answers pretty soon.
I noticed you've been doing a lot more on-air reporting for TPUSA, or Frontlines rather, which I'm loving, by the way. Have you given anything to filing any reports or doing any investigative stuff about the auto pen?
Oh, the auto pen. Yes, the good old auto pen. That is, it doesn't seem like this administration has really been answering those kinds of questions
Right.
when it comes to that. That's something that everyone's been wondering about over the last 4 years. But I really think that that's going to be slow walked, if I'm being
No.
completely honest. I think there are other issues this administration is focusing on, but when it comes to an investigation, I think that's just another thing that's on the list for the DOJ or for whoever is responsible of investigating that.
So are you going to the rally tomorrow in Pittsburgh?
I am not. I pitched it. I said I wanted to go, send me there, but I think that they have their bases covered. I think we're just going to live stream it. But what I think is the most interesting story coming out of this week is the redistributing Harvard federal funding to these trade schools. I think that's something that's been going underreported, and just how underfunded these trade schools are across the country. There's about 9,400 trade schools. So I think that the president is going to be doubling down not only on this steel deal, which I think we're going to be hearing more about. We'll let the president speak for himself because, of course, he loves to talk about it himself. But not only from that sector, but also in our labor workers and our tradesmen and women, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more action when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, the Harvard money, they're suing about that as well.
Yep.
But today I heard on CNBC, which we just reported, that they're not giving Moderna $700 million for their contract for the bird flu vaccine. So there may be $700 million. I wonder if that $700 million can go to the trade schools. Have you heard anything about that, or where the money's going to come?
I haven't heard about that, but I've heard about a significant portion of billions of dollars that have been granted to Harvard will be going to some of these trade schools. That was my question today in the press briefing. If she had called on me, was what's the timeline of this kind of suggestion? Could we see this money going towards the infrastructure of the trade schools, programs, special grants towards the students? So I'm curious to know about the status of that, because I think that's an industry and that's a field that is underappreciated as well. A lot of people going hours and hours in whether it's factories, fields, and into the field, and being underappreciated. And I think that Mike Rowe, he's looking at being more involved in the Trump administration as well, has been speaking out about this for years now as well. So I think we're going to be seeing perhaps a trade boom when it comes to that sector of jobs. So I think we're going to be seeing that. That's my prediction.
I think he's exposed a lot about higher education and realized these people are going and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a diploma that doesn't really matter. And if they applied themselves with everything that they're doing in terms of the nuclear power plants they're going to have to build, to AI, to all these different things, you don't need to go spend $400,000 over 4 years, where you can just go to a trade school and learn how to, actually do something that you get paid the next day, and you don't end up pouring coffee at Starbucks, because that's ridiculous. And in closing, what do you have coming up next in terms of, I've been watching your reports that you've been filing. What are you working on?
So in the upcoming weeks, I'll be at the Young Women's Leadership Summit in Dallas for Turning Point. So if you're from Dallas and you're going to the Young Women's Leadership Summit, I will see you there. There may be an opportunity for me to go to Guantanamo Bay, because in the future, they will be holding early pretrial hearings for those suspected or convicted of the 9/11 doing and carrying that out. So I believe that I'm still filling out the paperwork for that, but I believe that's
Wow.
something that else that I could be covering in the near future. I think that's coming actually in August, those pretrial hearings. So that's really exciting. I'm super passionate about that and seeing what comes out of that. But as of for right here at the White House, whatever is the hottest topic that's really going underreported, as it pertains to trade schools, for example, as it pertains to women and men and women's sports, of course, we've been hearing a lot of that, those investigations, anti-Christian bias, we've been hearing a lot of that as well. I'll be doing some digging into that as well. And I know that my team at Frontline has been doing a spectacular job bringing the truth from those protests in Seattle that got pretty violent over there.
That's crazy.
Calling them radical right wing just for being a Christian. So that's what we're up against, and it's truly a fight of good versus evil. So I'm hoping that more comes out of that as well, especially as it pertains to those investigations.
I'd love to see a report from Gitmo, because it's one of those places that none of us have really seen unless somebody served in the military. It's like this mythical place that's just out there, in Cuba. And I remember, what's her name? Catherine Herridge. She did something, but she had to do it very, very quiet. There's only certain pictures she could show, and they'll probably do the same thing to you. But at least you'll have the experience. You can relate as well. But I would love to see what's going on down there. That could be that and Alcatraz.
Yeah.
if he puts that together. All right, Monica, we'll be watching you again. Congratulations. I hope you and Daniel, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I hope
Yep.
you and Daniel,
Thank you so much.
you and Daniel have a fantastic marriage, and God bless that marriage. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thanks,
All right.
guys. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I appreciate you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody. As you know, that was Monica Paige from Turning Point USA and Frontlines, and she is a reporter in the White House itself. You heard her say it. You heard her say it. Buckle up. A lot of people aren't talking about it publicly. You don't hear about it in the press room. And again, if she feels it, if she feels that, hey, something's about to happen. So you're going to begin hearing that from more and more people. Something's about to happen. It's about to break crazy. You get your spidey senses up on the back of your neck and understand we're approaching crazy la la land. It's not Barry. It's actually what's this? Just got a text. I want to make sure that these guys haven't sent me something. All right. So any event, listen to what she said. Listen to what other people are saying. Go do your research. Understand. So let me show you something, some information that came out recently. This one, again, as you're starting to see this stuff starting to bubble up, pay attention. Oh, I heard that from Barry. I thought he was crazy. And you're hearing it from Monica. You're hearing it from people. This came just out, 2:15, from George Behezy. At this point, President Trump should invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807 and put an end to this judicial coup taking place in America daily. What was once a closet conversation, hey, should we do this? Hey, people are now saying it. Do it. Do it. And so when I'm saying take your hand to your keyboard, I think President Trump at this point, and whoever he's got in his social media team, when he how's it looking out there? Oh, it's looking really good. People want you to do it. Let him know. He may never see it, but somebody may see it and say, there's a lot of chatter right now. There's a lot of chatter in support of you doing what you need to do. Just like Monica just said. She's a White House reporter, and her words were, he needs to do what we voted for. And so, as President Trump has been saying for quite some time, and I think everybody has attributed it to the tariffs. And you've heard him say this. It's going to be painful for a little while. What if he wasn't specifically talking about the tariffs? What if he talked about the pain that America's going to feel because he's got to do what he's got to do? You see, the more people talk about this and are being public about this, the more you got to sit back and go, wait a minute. No, it's not just Barry being crazy. It's everybody I know in law enforcement. It's people I know in the military. It's reporters in the White House. It's other people who are writing on X. And they're all saying the same thing. Do it. Well, if he does it, are you ready? So understand there's two sides to this. He pulls a pin, you better be ready. So let me in closing here, let me just go over two things that just came out. And these are both really interesting, very interesting. Will Chamberlain, who we've had on the show here, this came out at 2:15, just a little while ago. Breaking, in a letter sent today, Pam Bondi informed the American Bar Association that they will no longer enjoy, quote, special access to judicial nominees. What does that mean? Exactly. The ABA will no longer be granted waivers allowing the ABA access to non-public information, and judicial nominees will no longer respond to questionnaires by the ABA or sit for interviews with the ABA. Pam Bondi explained the ABA no longer functions as a fair arbiter of nominees' qualifications, and its ratings invariably and demonstrably favor nominees put forth by Democratic administrations. So the American Bar Association at this point has been given the Heisman. Nope, thank you, don't want you, don't need your input. You're no longer going to be able to, get your fingers into some of these judges that, we need to put in place. Interesting. What makes it more interesting is what Trump has been doing over the last 24 to 48 hours, which I will show you here right now. Let me scroll up to it, and here we go. All right, so let me just show you this. This was yesterday, and he goes, I am pleased to nominate Ed Artau to serve as judge on United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida right here in Fort Lauderdale. He is currently a judge on Florida's 4th District Court of Appeal, previously serving as a trial judge, blah, 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 blah. So he's nominated a judge that now the American Bar Association can't speak to. Interesting how these things happen, right? Again, putting together the breadcrumbs. He nominates these guys. Let me just show you so you can see. He nominates this guy on May 28th, yesterday at 4:55 p.m. Right? Right. And at the same time he does that, or relatively shortly thereafter, Pam Bondi this morning, 2:15 p.m., not sure when she dropped the letter, but the tweet came out that now you no longer are involved in looking at judge nominations. That's interesting. I'm going to nominate these people, and Pam, make sure they don't get in the way with the ABA. We don't want them involved anymore. Just happened the very next morning. Things just happened. There's no coincidence. Well, let's continue. There's more. So that was Ed Artau. Next, and the timing on this was yesterday afternoon, I am honored to nominate Jordan Pratt to serve as judge on the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida. Interesting. That's two. What was that one? This one's 4:55, and the other one is two at the same time. Interesting. You got Artau, and you've got Pratt. Exactly. Oh, but he's not done. This one was at 4:55. It is my honor to nominate John Gard to serve as judge on the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida as well. Wow, 3 judge nominees, all at 4:55. Nope, not done. I am pleased to announce the nomination of Ann Lee Gaylord Moe to serve as judge on the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida. 1, 2, that's 4. 4 judges. 4 judges, and the very next day, Pam Bondi says, hey, we need to do something. Oh, but he wasn't done yet. Here's number 5. I am pleased to announce the nomination of Kyle Dudek to serve as judge on the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida. Don't know what's going on in the Middle District of Florida, but that's 5. 5 different judges. And then, of course, I told you about this one a day ago at last night's show, is he nominated Emil Bove to serve as judge on the United States Courts of Appeals for the Third Circuit. That was at 3:03 p.m. So President Trump yesterday nominates 6 judges. 6. And then today, Pam Bondi does that. Again, I don't make this stuff up. I try to show you specifically, hey, did you know this? Bam, 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 bam. And I like to wait a couple hours on things to say, okay, that's odd that you just all of a sudden woke up today and said, hey, we're going to just go ahead and nominate 6 judges out of the blue. Yeah, okay. And the next day, Pam Bondi tells the ABA, get bent. I don't know. I just want to bring it to you guys. You guys can say Barry's crazy, and I'm like, well, just go look yourself. Go look at the timestamps. Go look. It's all right there. All right there. And this man does not play. I mean, he nominated all these judges, and if you think it's a coincidence that Pam Bondi today told the American Bar Association to get bent, that's a bigger reach than anything else. That's just you thinking there's a conspiracy or some sort of coincidence. And you know what I've said about coincidences. They don't happen. So in closing, I want to show you something somebody posted, and it pretty much aligns with what I have said. And I'm going to close with this because I don't want to get too much in the weeds with comments and everything. This is something that you may want to read again and again and again. Because it was what I was saying about the national debt and all this other stuff and what President Trump is doing. So, I have this post. It's by a gentleman called Joe Lang. Obviously, it's a autonomous Anon account. And I just want you to read along this, and then maybe if you want to go find it, and I can post a link or you can look up Joe Lang. But it says, politics is just a game. It's purposely designed to trap you mentally into a game of division and manipulation. Break out of the bubble, and this is probably one of the best things that I keep telling you guys. Ask the right questions. Because if you're not asking the right questions, you're not focusing on getting the right answers. Our entire lives, the cabal and their political puppets have conditioned us to believe specific things in order to trigger our emotional response. They do that very well. They pull the strings, they stoke the flames, they cause division, and also depress you into believing that nothing will ever change. It behooves them to keep you thinking that. Nothing's ever going to happen. We're just stuck this way. Nothing, and you at that point will get quite disillusioned because you're not questioning things. All right, so let's continue. Where are we? They pull the string. Okay, they trigger you with specific words and phrases that have been ingrained within your mind. The one big beautiful bill is a perfect example. Trigger words: deficit, debt, spending cuts, etc. Everything you've heard in the media. Some politicians duffed off their long rehearsed lines and hit the airwaves to earn praise and raise money for themselves as protectors of the American people, but they're frauds. I won't name them, but you've seen them. Lots of people are bashing the Republicans for what's in this one big beautiful bill and how it massively increases spending. You've heard them. But they act as if Trump isn't in the middle of it. They act as if Trump isn't getting stabbed in the back and doesn't know it or isn't smart enough to know what's going on in Congress. See, that's where I think a lot of people make some serious mistakes. Because in order for Trump to be failing, you have to assume Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Or hasn't had the people around him to give him the information so that he knows what he's doing. Either way, I feel you're wrong. I feel President Trump knows exactly what he's doing because he told us months, a year ago. If you go back and listen to some of the old rallies, which he said over and over and over, the pillars of what he wanted to do wasn't Epstein, It was to make America healthy again, make America safe again, make America wealthy again, make America great again. I'm going to obliterate the deep state. I can say these things without rehearsing or notes because I listened. I listened to every speech he made. I listened to Howard Lutnick get on stage and go, tariffs? We were so rich. We didn't need income tax. Remember that? I play the music at night. I'm bringing a memory right now. Remember when he was saying all that? And people are like, what? Are you really going to stop income tax? Yeah, we can do it. We're going to be so rich. Well, how do you get rich if you have so much debt? It seems like nobody answered that question or even asked that question. How are you going to be so rich if you have so much debt? You can, if you haven't asked yourself that question, now might be the time. So, yeah, how are you going to make America wealthy again? We can't even pay our bills. You know, in your own personal life, I can't get rich. I mean, I've been doing the real estate stuff and telling people, like, oh, it's not for me. I don't have any money. Well, if America doesn't have any money and we're trillions of dollars in debt, how are we going to be rich? As Howard Lutnick would say. Okay, let's continue. Does anybody really think Trump doesn't know exactly how Congress works? Ask the right questions. Why doesn't Trump care about the deficit? How are we going to be rich if we owe everybody in the world? Why doesn't Trump care about the massive $36 trillion debt? Why doesn't Trump care about that his one big beautiful bill is going to increase the debt by $10 trillion? I'm leading here with breadcrumbs, and I'm like, I wish I had written this. Why is he front-loading all the massive tax cuts for the American people and back-loading all the spending cuts till after the midterms? Why does Trump want this one big beautiful bill passed as quickly as possible? These are all questions that you should be now researching. I'm like, hey, yeah, why is all this happening? Media's not talking about it. But these are the kind of things I've been thinking, and most of these questions I've actually dug into. Why hasn't Trump complained about Speaker Johnson or Senate Majority Leader Thune? Oh, Mike's doing a great job. And all of us like, and people who are in this chat right now are like, oh, I don't trust Mike Johnson. Okay, you're not listening. Could it be possible they are doing exactly what President Trump wants them to do? Uh-oh. Here comes some cognitive dissonance right now, huh? What do you mean? Who's in control? Is it Trump or Congress? I don't listen to people that think Congress is in control and that Trump isn't smart enough to understand that he's getting screwed. Is it possible that there's something much bigger happening? Is it possible that something much bigger is happening? Not going to happen, is happening. Those playing politics are missing what's really happening. Trump is fighting a war. Unless you understand that, you're done. You're still hoping and wishing for an arrest when you don't realize the war is here. Many of us are beginning to see it now and going, yeah, it's here. It's happened. Now you better get in the fight. This has nothing to do with politics. He's on a mission with his one big beautiful bill, and is going to allow a lot of the American people to keep more of their hard-earned money and strip away the power and control that the government has over them. Trump is using the one big beautiful bill to lift up the American people financially, and at the same time, he's quickly moving us towards a point where we can bankrupt this corrupt as hell worldwide debt slavery system controlled by central bankers. Bam! Boom! How do you obliterate the deep state? Not with tanks and bombs, with money. If they don't have money, they no longer can control anything. How are they controlling us? Well, we're debt slaves. What happens if America is no longer a slave to debt? Let that sink in. Will bankruptcy bring freedom? The answer to all these questions isn't hard to understand if you're looking at these things through the lens of a Trump fighting a war. But who is the real enemy? Democrats? Rhinos? Or is it the global cabal of puppet masters controlling them? Who also controls the central banks? Why would massively increasing spending be a good thing as the world's reserve currency? Here's the dirty little secret that none of these politicians or the people bashing them constantly are ever going to tell you. This fiat debt of $36 trillion was never going to get paid back. That is the price of admission right there. You need to understand it was never designed to be paid back. If we got close, they'd just get more debt. Hey, we're going to need to raise the debt ceiling. Oh, we need to raise the debt ceiling? Yeah, well, let's go borrow some more money from whom I don't know. And it's never going to get paid off. It's a credit card with 40% interest, and we're never, ever, ever, ever going to pay up. It was not designed for us to pay it off. It was designed to cripple us. It was designed to keep you working 40 hours a week for 40 years. And then maybe you get some Social Security if you live that long. This is probably shocking you. The enemy's plan was always to bankrupt the United States and move into a new financial system. Has everyone just forgotten about the global reset that was planned? The reset where, you own nothing and you like it. That was published. And we would all become renters of everything as perpetual serfs. That was the enemy's planned bankruptcy. But Trump is about to hit the enemy with a massive boomerang. Trump is controlling this bankruptcy. It's a controlled demolition. I'm going to obliterate the deep state. He's controlling the demolition of the deep state, where the American people win instead of losing. Trump's bankruptcy is going to leave the enemy holding the bag of fiat debt. Look it up. Understand what fiat debt is. As we move into a new system of financial freedom. Bam. That's it. That's what you need to learn from today. And you can watch this over again. And because I know you need to sink in and go, wait a second. This person, I am convinced, is in the government. Maybe it's Stephen Miller. It was so well written. I was like, OMG, bro, you just dropped a massive A-bomb. He got his first comment that he got here, and it's pretty interesting. Where's this comment? Once people understand the deep state's playbook, the illusion of the matrix disappears. You'll start seeing patterns, and you will recognize the agenda almost immediately. No doubt. This is where you are today. If you haven't done it already, pull the plug out of the back of your head and start digging into some of this stuff and realize the war is already here. It's just a matter of what happens next in this war and if most people are prepared for it. And I mean, you can call me crazy, but you're going to call a lot of people crazy because in the coming weeks and months, there's going to be a whole lot of people going, yeah, we're going to have to do this, aren't we? Yep, we're going to have to do it. You now know way in advance. Do with it what you want. Because it's about to get into the bumpiest of bumpy rides. I'm confident of that. I'm afraid to look at the comments. Barry put up a copy of this guy's email. I don't know his email. Gold backing. Yep, he's talked about gold backing as well. I am already out of the matrix. Who is he again? The guy who wrote that. Hold on. Let me go back to that post. Here, let me do this. His name is Joel Lang. I don't know if it's real. Not sure. If you hover over his thing, his profile, he's a professional spitballer making common sense great again. Don't know who he is. If I click on his profile, there's nothing there. He has a Substack, Joel Lang, so I guess maybe he is an author, but not sure if he's, how he's tied in. But everything he just wrote there, it's dead on. It's dead on. Exactly. It's all about money and power, not jail time. Strip their power and their money. That's the war. I don't give a crap if Dan Bongino and Kash Patel or Pam Bondi ever arrest any of these people. I don't give a crap. I see where this is going. Monica sees where this is going. George sees where this is going. You need to start seeing the bigger picture. All of this noise is not the signal. And I'll take from it what Dan Bongino said. Don't trust him. Don't. I'm lying to you. We're talking about Epstein and the video and everything. I don't give a crap. We need to save America. Everybody who's out there worried about Epstein and all the other stuff, that's just noise. It's people chirping. This is what's really going on. And I've said it a few times. Some people think I'm nuts, but then explain it. Explain, and again, ask anyone you know in the military, anybody you know in law enforcement, hey, what's coming? Maximus will tell you, yeah, it's coming. We have no choice. See, that's the part of it, is that for you to say it's not coming, the other part of that question I would ask you, and you can ask anybody at the same time, is if it's not coming, what are we going to do? You can't arrest your way out of this. You cannot find enough court hearings or whatever, or Senate committee. It's dog and pony. At this point, you have to obliterate the deep state. That's it. Now we just have to figure out how he's going to do that. It's just crazy. Yep, Joe Lang is spot on. Draining the swamp is taking their money and freedom. Bye-bye. Exactly. Money. Money, 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 money. And so when people are like, he's going to overspend, maybe that's the idea. And people are like, wait a minute, what? Think about that. Maybe the idea is to bankrupt. Sometimes, if you ever met anyone who's gone bankrupt in their business or personal life, it gets to a point where I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to hit the reset button. We're going to start over. Okay? Okay. What would that be like in America? What would it be like in America if we just said, you know what? We no longer have $36 trillion in debt. We're done. We're going to start over. We've got the ways and means in this country to do that start over. Think about that. How many people have you ever known that have gone through a bankruptcy and they're like, hey, for 10 years I can't borrow anything because, my credit's bad, and so I have to live within my means and do what I need to do here. Oh, but you don't have that debt anymore, so that's going to recover much faster. How do you make America wealthy again? You got to remove the debt. There's no way you can be wealthy if you're sitting on trillions of debt. Trillions of dollars of debt. Think I'm wrong? Tell me how. Tell me how we can do more GDP, how we can do more, make more money when you're still sitting, you got this albatross over your neck and there's nothing you can do because it's 36 trillion heavy. And you're not even raising that much in taxes. This would be so much better than arresting people. They are embedded in the deep state, so it should take them out with a single. It's much better. In fact, most of them would probably self-unalive themselves. Everything that they've got tied into is probably to rip off America. And all of a sudden, what do you mean? We don't have U.S. You think the USAID stuff is driving these crazy? Oh, imagine that. They're mad because DOGE turned off USAID and all these different slush funds and 100 million people on Social Security who don't exist. So you're shutting all these things off. And then you got a couple things left. The big one, the debt. Just imagine what happens. What are these people going to do? They're probably over leveraged to the hilt. Don't go run to your bank account because then Pam Bondi and those guys can watch. Where's the money? That's what I want to watch. That's what I want Dan Bongino and Kash Patel looking at. Hold on. SV says he's got some breaking news before we get out of here. President Trump's tariffs have been officially reinstated while the appeal runs its course. Big win for our country. Tariffs have already brought in $200 billion in additional revenue, and that number will continue to go up. I think I can leave on a note like that. It's happening, people. It's happening. Think about it. That's all I want you to do. The only thing I want you to do is begin thinking about what you've heard, what you see, and everything else. And again, if people like Monica and George and most law enforcement officers I talk to, and most people who have been in the military, if they begin, they'll tell you, say, what do you see happening? And they're like, I think the military is the only way. I think that's what we're going to do. Then that's pretty much what we're going to do. All right, so that being said, let me go ahead and do super chats before we get out of here. Barry, Alexa told me last year, what year you were born. Okay. You paid me for that? Okay, thank you. Trumpinator, we are, oh wait a minute, I gotta go to the top. Okay, here we go. I still trust Dan. He's saying what he needs, he can say. Okay, Yorkie Mom, that's cool. Far Isle, I worry they want Trump to suspend habeas, so if they win 2026, they can impeach, get rhinos, join them, and remove him. What do you think is going to happen if they get power anyway? Peter Ortiz, now you're going on the conspiracy theory path. Really? Really? A lot of us. Again, a conspiracy is just something you don't know yet. Trey Arellano, thank you. Peter Ortiz, wow, Trump is now going to be a dictator. Really? Peter, you're trolling. I know that. A dictator is somebody who doesn't follow the Constitution, who throws the Constitution away. Perhaps you should indulge in reading more about the Constitution. Then you wouldn't feel that. Penny McCorder, not one Democrat voted on the big, beautiful bill. Nope, not a single one. Agent Pepsi, I believe in President Trump due to prior performance. Penny Corridor, Q, cartel definition, not drug, military tribunal treason. One charge for all involved, including those who knew but said nothing and did nothing. Save the Doggos. Barry, love your show. I know you're a Queensryche fan. Would you consider playing one of the old band's live videos from 2000? Would love to talk about it, but not sure how. You mean like Empire or Operation Mindcrime? One of those? I like that song. Lupe Maria. So Barry, I started selling my stops, kept some, going to keep my bills paid 3 months in advance, have 1 year worth of food. What do I do about money in the bank? Will it get cash, small bills? That's what you do. With Florida saying they're going to take these at legal tender, and they don't take up much room. Imagine this one here. This is $32 worth of gold. Of silver. This is about $125 worth of gold. You can have a bunch of these in a safe in your home. And so if there's a bank run or something like that, you have the ability to transact if you live in Florida. Let's see here. Carla Thomas, if we are not here tomorrow, you know what, you know that I love y'all. Vini Vici, money for a barbecue with beer, steak, and chat with the Fanfare family. Thank you, sir. Job for 9. Barry, it will be a repeat of his last term when he lost the House. POTUS, get it done. Lupe Maria, do utilities get disrupted with a habeas? No. You mean suspending habeas? No. But you don't know what the nuts are going to do. See, that's where, start thinking, you talk to your law enforcement friends, and they'll tell you, this isn't, it's not something like where they're going to just have tanks running down your yard or anything. It's going to be very limited if he does it, when he does it. And so, but what we can't rely on is what the response will be from the nuts. Jose Herrera, Barry, I've been watching your channel since May last year, first time commenting. What would it take to start the MAGA party and get away from all these rhinos? I was wondering that myself, why he didn't just... I don't even call myself a Republican anymore. Nuclear or bust, no other option. None. I'd say your name. Oh, it's Pat's World. Judy, thank you very much. Tommy Ratcliffe, hey Tommy, hope you're feeling better. Why is Trump not concerned with the so-called additional spending? Tariffs, that's the answer. They don't consider it the debt ratio. Bing time. Trumpinator, they wanted a great reset. We'll give them one. I like that thinking. Tommy, where's that? Where'd you go? Oh, Tommy Giannicco. Barry Allen, that's one I just read. Trumpinator, we are the military. Tommy, again, I meant to say that Alexa told me last night. Okay. Condition-based, I've been screaming what Joe Longo just said. Joe Lang just said. Yep. And you have to understand, there's a lot of people who are starting to see it. Tommy, again, disappeared the national debt. Most of it was fraud anyway. Should we have to vote in Congress to stop criminal fraudulent spending? This is insane. Yep. Yeah. Neo, thank you, Barry. Awesome analysis. So ready. Keep winning. Keep learning. Tim Sperry, Megalodon Shark, chomp, chomp, chomp. And Captain, you guys can't see it. I gotta lower this. Captain Danny, Trump is restructuring the global economy to benefit Americans. That's why he's so dangerous. That's why these people are so worried. What is Trump going to do? Well, they see it coming, and it's going to happen. All right, we'll see you guys at 7:30 tonight. I've got news, which I'll have a bunch of it, and then at 8:30, I believe, Ann Vandersteel is going to be on. So if you guys don't know who Ann Vandersteel is, you can look her up on X. If you're one of those people who are concerned that people are, talking down Pam Bondi or being too harsh on Dan Bongino or Kash Patel, you might want to skip the Rumble jump over. I'm just saying. I've been looking at some of her posts, and she's pulling no punches. None whatsoever. So if that bothers you, maybe you can stay here between like 7 and 8 and then bounce. Okay. In any event, we'll talk to you guys tonight. Thanks for tuning in.
you.